You are now listening to
Likely to Dispute,
hosted by Monkas, Reed, and Tyler. How's everybody doing? It's Cevan. Join with me today is Tyler and Reed, as always, and this is episode 21 of Likely to Dispute.
We have another fantastic episode for you this week. We're just finishing up week 2 of the NFL preseason this Saturday evening that we're recording. And we've got our top 40 Dynasty wide receivers this episode. It should be a fun one. Hopefully our most controversial one yet. Hopefully we'll get a nice crash out from Tyler in the meantime. But before we do that, we've got a very fun question-ish of the day. We spent a lot of time getting mad at each other for the last 3 months of this podcast. So we're going to start with our question of the day. It's not a question. Our goal right now is for all three of us to compliment each host one time. So Cevan, we're going to start with you because this was your idea. You needed the glaze from us. So we're going to start with you to do one of your compliments now.
I might just knock them both out. We'll see.
Okay.
Tyler, I'm going to start with you. My compliment to you is, and just to preface this, these are not supposed to be backhanded compliments, but Tyler, my compliment to you is I love how good you are at accepting when you're wrong. You're quick to say, my bad, I'm sorry, I understand that perspective now. And you won't just hold it. You won't hold it and just die on the hill. You're very good at just admitting you're wrong. So I appreciate that you're like that.
So they're not supposed to be backhanded though, right?
That's not backhanded.
It could be interpreted that way.
No,
I didn't mean it that way.
I didn't interpret it that way. So we're good.
If that was my compliment, I'd have been offended, but I think it's a good compliment. I would have just been offended.
Sometimes you just got to look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself that you don't know ball, and that's okay. And that's what I do sometimes.
I think this podcast has forced all of us to look ourselves in the mirror at one point or other and ask what the hell we're doing here. But that's the point of the podcast. So,
right.
Cevan, did you want to knock out your second one or do you want to pass the torch?
No, I'll let you give Tyler his.
Well, I was going to give you one first.
Oh, that works.
Just kidding. Tyler wants to go. Tyler, go ahead.
Okay. I'll serve one up to Reed here. What I appreciate about Reed and his contributions to the podcast and the fantasy discussion as a whole is his prowess with the keyboard and the mouse and how quick you are to whip up something, even if it's a small argument that we're having, to display, each point that's being made between us or you and Cevan or whoever, and going above and beyond with all the coding and images and whatnot that you create to visualize the nonsense that we're talking about sometimes. And you just do it. And we're not asking you to do, you just do it. So
it brings me passion. It's my passion. It brings me happiness.
There you go.
Thank you. Cevan, it's only fair that you get your compliment now. What I would like to compliment about you is I always know that you're always down to have a take on something. Sometimes it can be boring with myself where I feel like oftentimes I hedge bets. I say this could happen, this couldn't happen. But with you, I appreciate that you're always willing to take a stand on something you believe in. And that to me, I appreciate that because it's really easy to not want to be wrong, but you're unafraid in the face of being wrong. And I appreciate that.
Yes, it goes right into the league villain mentality. I appreciate that. And I'll give mine right back to you. 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 30 days a month, 12 months out of the year. You and me, we talk football all year round, and you're the only person that you're the person I talk to most about it, and the only person I talk all year round besides my fiance. So I appreciate always having the good conversation, sometimes positive, sometimes negative, but it's always constructive, and we argue a lot in our personal messages, but it's all fun at the end of the day.
I feel like we learn a lot from each other when we talk to each
Yes.
other. And even if it ends in an argument and one of us just not to stop responding to end the discussion, I feel like in the end of the day, we learn a lot from each other when we talk about this all year round, at least this year. Like in the past, when it was just redraft, it was very much a cyclical thing when football season was in. But then for those 4 or 5 months, I probably don't send a text to you more than like once a month. But
Yeah,
this year,
Yeah.
like you said, it's basically every day, all year round now.
which is fun.
Very fun.
You want me to take this next one?
Go ahead.
All right, Cevan, my positive note to you is that you make a league very welcoming, and it doesn't matter how well someone knows you, you will be the first in the Discord chat or sleeper chat or wherever to, you know, tell someone why their move sucked or reach out to someone about a trade or something like that. But it's like you bring the liveliness to a league that I feel like a lot of leagues probably lack. It probably feels like it's not that cohesive in a lot of leagues, I feel like. And so I feel like you bring a cohesiveness to a league that makes it feel more personal and people are more likely to interact with each other because you are the one to do that in the first place.
A glue
Yeah,
guy, some might say, keeps the
That's
league
right.
together.
That's right.
I, I appreciate that. That's the goal. I mean, I'm not always trying to be an asshole is the goal, but just talk to whoever and whatever the same way. I mean, I'm not gonna switch up, so the glue guy, I'll take the glue guy. That's a good one.
There you go.
Last one. Tyler, this one's easy. As someone myself who lacks a lot of general creativity, you are the creative force behind a lot of the things that happen on our podcast, from the questions of the day to the episodes that we're doing to the structure of the episodes to just generally creative things that happen throughout the podcast. And I know, like I said, for myself, that is not a strong suit of mine. So I think that's a very complementary strength you bring to the podcast. I feel like Savant's inspiration more comes off the top of his head. And I feel like the thought that you put into the podcast and the creativity that comes with it is a huge bonus that we lacked in the first episode before you were part of the full time squad.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It all started when I wanted to quiz you guys on who had Ryan Flynn last year. So
Which I won, Cevan, if you remember that back in the day.
Yes, I do remember.
That feels like a year ago, and that was like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, maybe.
yeah,
God, off season's been a
wild.
long time. Okay, that was fun. We should do
Wholesome.
that less often.
Next week
Next
uh,
week.
is a dig at everyone.
Oh, that's going to be
Let's
good.
say
Roast
something.
everybody on the pod.
There you go.
Okay. On to our top 40 Dynasty wide receivers. We're following the same structure as last week. And to reiterate the disclaimer, as Savan said, it was tried to use against him by some people in a trade this week. Our rankings, while they are trying to be as context neutral as possible, it is impossible, especially at the point that our league is in, to be truly context neutral, because just because you have one player ranked higher, one player ranked lower, the team builds you have, the what players you do have don't have what you lack, what you need. There are a lot of contextual factors that make it essentially impossible to truly get a neutral grade. So we're doing our best to try to take the context out of it, but in the end of the day, with an existing league, there's only so much you can do to do that. So our rankings are very fun to do. And we're starting off right here with players we have above consensus. We have 3 stars here, each in their own right. But we're going to start with Cevan, with maybe the best receiver of the group. Arguably a better NFL receiver at this moment than fantasy because of the style of offense that he plays in. But Cevan has AJ Brown, wide receiver 10, 4 spots above KeepTradeCut's consensus ranking at wide receiver 14.
Yeah, so AJ Brown, elite receiver. He has an argument to be the most explosive receiver in the NFL, in my opinion. 10 probably seems a bit aggressive. Uh, like Reed said, it has a lot to do with the offense he plays in. He's a career over 15 yards per reception, which is insane. He'll give you 7 to 10 touchdowns a year. He's had 2 seasons at just under 1,500 yards. It's just the style of offense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm under the impression they cannot do what they did with Saquon last year. They're going to have to throw it a little bit more. Jalen Hurts barely had over 3,000 yards. If that just goes not to a league average, but if he gets to that 36, 3,800 yards, a few more are going to go AJ Brown's way. I love the talent. The talent speaks for itself. It's undeniable. He is unhealthy right now, so we'll see how the season goes. He's also 28 years old, so I can see why maybe having him at 10 is a bit aggressive, but I love the player. I love the play style.
Mm.
Uh, he's a guy you want as your wide receiver one. Um, just with big play upside. I mean, you saw from the first game of the season last year, he had a 70-yard touchdown against the Packers. He's the type of guy that can take a slant to the house on any play, and those are the type of guys I want
Hmm.
on my team.
Yeah, I think we all are in the same boat that AJ Brown's awesome. I feel like I don't know if we're past the point in this career, but we have not seen like an absolutely nuclear season from him. And I feel like he's kind of gotten gypped out of that because of where he was early in his career with the Titans, and then like you said, in the style of offense that the Eagles play, like you feel like you throw him on like a pass happy team, and he could be someone that's going for 16, 1,700 yards in a really
Yeah,
good season. He just hasn't had that chance to. And one thing that had always stuck out to me over the last couple of weeks, on the late round fantasy podcast with JJ Zacharyson, he mentioned that there's only been like four teams in the last decade that have had a pass rate as low as the Eagles did last year. And of those four teams, three of them jumped their pass rate by a significant margin the next season. Like the amount that the Eagles were running the ball last year was just simply not sustainable because that like Saquon ripped off 50 plus yard runs like every week. And that just isn't something that happens year after year. So I agree. I'm all in. I think AJ Brown's awesome. I have him a little bit lower than you just because of the age. I don't know how many more years there are of that production left. Um, but I have him in the same tier as you. I just have him a little bit lower, but I have no problem with the ranking at all. He's very, very good at football.
definitely.
Tyler?
Yeah, nothing else to really add there. He's just one of the stalwart wide receiver ones. So he's a beast.
Well, we'll take that to segue into your player that you are above consensus on, Tyler, and that is Mr. Jalen Waddle. You have him 8 spots above consensus at wide receiver 21. Uh, a frankly aggressive ranking now, but you think about where he was last year when it doesn't necessarily feel that aggressive when you think about what I think people want the Dolphins to be or go back to being this year.
Yeah, Jalen Waddle at the beginning of the offseason, I didn't know exactly how to feel about him. But as the offseason has gone on, I've really settled in this camp that I think Jalen Waddle has had a really weird last few years, and that he is perhaps another one of those receivers that has been better last 2 years in real life more than he has been in fantasy. In 2023, that's when Tyreek Hill was just running the league. So that hurt Jalen Waddle. That year, he also missed some games due to injury. So 2023 wasn't the greatest year. And then last year was a really, really weird season for the Dolphins offense. Tua got hurt, and the offense just kind of coasted from there. It never really felt like they were super. It felt like they lost their identity a little bit with just how many targets Johnny Smith was getting, them rotating quarterbacks a few times. They just never found a groove. But Jalen Waddle still only 26. He signed his extension last spring that goes through 2028. And, in a dynasty perspective, it feels like at this point, Tyreek Hill could retire, be traded, be cut at any point. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if any of those things happened with Tyreek Hill. And at that point, Jalen Waddle, you know, in 2022, he finished as a top 10 wide receiver. And so I would struggle to even call him like just a strict wide receiver two on the Dolphins. I feel like it's more of a 1A, 1B situation with Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. And so with what's going on with Tyreek right now, who knows? I'm 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 high on Jalen Waddle right now. I think he will hopefully bounce back this year, and that bolsters his stock next year and beyond.
Hmm.
So I know that one of you two might say something about Tua's health. Not going to bet on that. Who knows? But I feel like even if it's Zach Wilson or Quinn
Oh
Ewers,
God.
Jalen Waddle will be fine, dare I say.
Yeah, that is a pretty bold statement given how it went last year when Tua was out. I'm not going to comment on that. You know, I'm not a predict injury guy, but
Yeah.
like I know we specifically have talked about this before, but how like unsatisfying it feels like his production is at times. Like he's not someone that gets consistent volume throughout the game. Like you'll feel like he'll have two catches in the fourth
Yeah.
quarter, and then suddenly he'll have a drive where he catches like four passes and a touchdown, and then suddenly his day looks a lot better. So just
Yeah.
as someone who had him in a redraft last year, obviously last year was not the normal year for him, but it felt frustrating at times, and I'm hoping that that turns back around this year because I think he's a pretty popular pick for a lot of people to kind of get back on track.
I also feel like just like watching him, he looks a lot better than he's finished in fantasy the
Hmm.
last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean that's just kind of, like you said, a product of being the second option in his offense, but in a lot of offenses he could be the first option. I mean, him and AJ Brown's teammate are kind of the chief offenders of that, of guys who, and T Higgins, guys who they were on a different team, they could pretty comfortably be the top guy and nobody would probably question it. So, Cevan, any Waddle thoughts?
Yeah, great talent. It's definitely the situation. The good thing about the situation is showed his first and second year in the league that he can be, uh, a top 12, top 15 receiver. And so getting back to that, we'll see. Like I've said multiple times, I think the Dolphins are going to fall apart, but even if even if they fall apart, somebody's going to have to do something. So
Yeah,
I'm all right with it.
it's worth noting that all three of us are above consensus on Jalen Waddle compared to Keep Trade Cut, who has him at wide receiver 29. Collectively, all three of us on average have him at wide receiver 24. So we're all a lot higher on him than consensus. I think we're all on, to some extent, on board with him getting back closer to his track, I guess. So off of Mr. Waddle, we have Rashee Rice for myself. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I think everybody will kind of, again, Rashee is another player who all of us are above consensus on. Keep Trade Cut has him at wide receiver 19, and we have him at 13, 15, and 12, so an average of 13 collectively. Um, I don't think a suspension or possible suspension affects his dynasty value all that much. I mean, again, we're talking about someone you have forever, and we're talking about, oh God, I hope 6 games, maybe 8 games. So overall, I mean, the talent is immense. He's in a very, very fantasy friendly role in a PPR format that we're in right now. Um, like the sky is the limit for him. I mean, if you look at the second half of his rookie year after the bye through the first 3 games of last year where he was healthy, he was a top 15 wide receiver as a rookie. And that's with the Chiefs offense struggling compared to their normal standards. So the Chiefs offense, I firmly believe, will be back into that bona fide top 10 floor this year. And I believe Rasheed will be a large beneficiary of that. For all the news that we've gotten is that Rasheed's knee is back healthy 100% again. We'll see if he starts slow physically, but he is healthy. He played in their preseason game last night against the Seahawks. So I struggled with where to put him. I think the tier that we'll talk about later when we get to our rankings, the tier that he's in is full of just really, really good wide receivers. And they all were kind of interchangeable from, I believe, that tier for me is wide receiver 10 through wide receiver 15. So there's 6 names there that I felt really good with. And he's absolutely in that thick of the tier there. And he was definitely a hard one to rank, but I definitely was going to be above consensus regardless. Cevan, Tyler, any Rasheed thoughts? I guess not you, Tyler. You're kind of a hater, although you do have him above consensus. So maybe
That's
you've
not
softened your stance.
more, yeah, or you've just worn me down. Who knows?
3 best words in the
Um,
English language.
I I I will say I think you're downplaying a little bit that the suspension doesn't affect his dynasty stock or it won't super affect it. I can't remember exactly what you said, but
It
I think
shouldn't have a major impact.
I do think there's like a real possibility that he gets suspended, but also doesn't come back the same. Maybe the Chiefs offense has evolved a bit without him, and then it's kind of awkward getting him back in there. I don't know exactly, and I'm not going to say that is a certainty, but I do think there is a world where this suspension kind of derails his whole season, and at this point next year,
Hmm.
maybe you have him as you've dropped him a few spots to around a wide receiver 20 or so. So,
No, I actually think it's a good point. I've thought about that. I've thought about that a lot actually, because if you think about what people thought was going to happen once he agreed to his plea deal, and people just assumed it was going to be a start of the season thing. Kind of the ebb and flow of if he gets suspended to start the year, is it possible that they move forward without him and then he struggles to find a place in the offense afterwards? And now we're at the point, okay, he's back, likely going to be playing the first couple weeks of the season. They establish something with him, get him back, get him healthy. And then, like you said, it may evolve without him when they're playing games that they don't have him and they don't have somebody with his exact skill set. Do they adjust their offense without him? And then when he's back, does he maintain the full workload that he had? I've thought about
right.
that a lot. I don't think it's a bad point at all. Um, I just think he's talented enough, and as we've mentioned before, like he plays in the same area that Travis Kelce dominated for years.
Mhm.
And obviously, Travis Kelce is one of the best of all time, if not the at his position. And I'm not saying Rasheed is him, but the way he operates in the area of the field that he does, it's always been an important part of the Chiefs offense. And I think the role that he functions in makes the rest of the offense better because he becomes such a threat underneath. So I'm not saying it's not, it's definitely a valid point. I guess I'm less worried about it than I was maybe coping. I'm not really sure, but I'm not super worried about that right now.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and
Cevan.
for me, uh, I've got him at wide receiver 13, so just one spot behind you, Reed. I think he has an argument. He could be in the risers category.
Ooh.
Suspension is going to play part in it, but I mean, KTC has him at wide receiver 19. If we're looking at that, and if he doesn't even have to be on the pace he was on the first 3 weeks of last year,
Hmm.
if in the what's presumed to be the two different stretches of games we will see from him this year, if he's operating as Mahomes' wide receiver one, then uh, people are going to have a lot of fun with that. And I mean, he could get inside that top 10 pretty comfortably. Um, I mean, his price has dropped because of the whole suspension thing. So,
Hmm. Yeah,
uh,
definitely like in a redraft league, the uncertainty, as myself, who's playing a little more conservative this year, given how the past 2 years have gone in our redraft league, he will not be somebody that I personally am targeting. But if you think about a league with our settings where, our general settings is 12 teams and eight make the playoffs, he actually becomes an incredibly attractive target because you get someone who, like you said, could very easily be a top 10 or 12 receiver. And especially when it matters towards the back half of the season, like if you've got a league like that where your settings allow for a lot of teams to make the playoffs, like he absolutely should be a target. And that's why I'm not super worried about him this year and how that affects his dynasty stock because I'm not worried about the little stretch he misses in the middle of the season as long as he's back for the fantasy playoffs and the offense doesn't move on without him.
yeah,
So all good points here. Three names I think we all like and all of us are close to or above consensus on. Below consensus, a couple, if not three, hot takes here. And we're going to start with Tyler here. Brian Thomas Jr., 4 spots below consensus.
Hmm.
KTC, he is wide receiver 5. You have him as wide receiver 9. And it's worth mentioning that he is in your second tier with a number of, again, very good receivers, but you have him at the bottom of that tier.
Yeah, I have him in the bottom of that tier. So just to name the guys I have above him, that'd be Drake London, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and
Nico.
Nico Collins. Yes. I take all those guys above Brian Thomas Jr. because I don't get me wrong, great rookie year, but all those guys have a little bit longer track record and in a dynasty perspective, an offense that's changed a lot. I'm just worried about Brian Thomas maintaining a similar level of production as he did last year. I know a lot of people like to bring it up with him, and I'm not I don't care so much about this, but it is worth noting that, a lot of that production he had last year came with Mac Jones and not Trevor Lawrence and games they were trailing. And that's not to take away from who he is. It's just the scenario is different now. Travis Hunter's obviously there. New head coach and Liam Cohen, Duval for if you will.
Do it. Can we get an
No,
impression?
I can't. I
Duval.
Nails.
Nice. There you go. So I'll take yeah, St. Brown, Nakua, London, Collins, all those guys who I feel like their situation is a little bit more unchanged and feels a little bit easier to project over Brian Thomas Jr. Great receiver. It's just
Hmm.
it's as simple as this. You need to see it a little bit more
Yeah.
to put him higher, and that's where I'm at. I'll talk about him later, but Travis Hunter is just he's difficult for me to, or it's difficult for me to know what to make of him.
Yeah, he is someone. All three of us have the exact same top four in our first tier, and the exact same next five, in our second tier. And he's Thomas is the guy that we're the most split on.
Hmm.
Cevan has him, or sorry, I have him at number five. Cevan has him at number seven, and you have him at number nine. So all over that second tier, and he's someone I actually ended up moving up. In my original rankings, I had him closer to eight or nine. And I ended up moving up the more I thought about it between the age and, like you said, a lot of that production did come from Mac Jones, hopefully in a better offensive scheme with Trevor Lawrence, who I believe both of us picked as our most improved player on Sumner's team. Like I feel
Hmm.
like that's just inevitably going to raise his production. Like he did it with Mac Jones. Can you do it in a better system with a better quarterback? So that's
He's
kind of where I'm
just
at. And again, like you're not out on him. You have him as a top 10 dynasty wide receiver, but that's why I guess I'm a little bit closer to consensus on him.
yeah, he's just fed so much last year that it is
They were trailing
it's
so often.
yeah.
Savon,
So
BTJ thoughts?
Yeah, I think five is really aggressive. It's that's like all projection to me because I mean, putting him even just putting him over Amon Ra, who's had 1,500 yards and been consistently in the 13 to 1,500 yard range. Uh, Very aggressive. I have no problems with him being inside the top 10 as I have him at seven. It's just I wouldn't take him over a couple guys, but he's still great. Tyler makes a good point. Mac Jones threw him most of his balls last year, and he was functioning as really the only, oh, is, yeah, really the only competent pass catcher. I'm not counting Gabe Davis or
Evan Ingram.
Brenton Strange.
Come
Uh,
on. We've got Grable Davis on the logo and you're talking
Yeah,
shit, man. Come on.
well, when he gets on a
that's
team,
that's
I'll
sacrilege.
get him back
Well,
in.
once he gets on a team, he's going in the fourth round to Tyler. So
Yeah.
That's true. But no,
So
Brian Thomas being at nine for you is I'm completely fine with that.
yeah.
Like you're
He,
saying that whole tier is
uh,
pretty interchangeable.
he had double digit touchdowns last year too, and I'm also not big on like just shouting touchdown regression from the rooftops. But I mean, if it is, a handful less touchdowns, that obviously hurts his performance as well.
scoring less touchdowns.
Yeah,
It's your
big
production.
news, big news.
Big time. Shout that from the rooftops.
Yep.
Okay. Savon, Jordan Addison, maybe the most controversial ranking you have. He was numerically the lowest you've been on any player compared to consensus, I believe, across any of our rankings.
Is this shades of Isaiah Pacheco?
Okay, that doesn't count. That's Savon. This one, numerically, again, I believe is the highest non-Isaiah Pacheco any of us have been low on a player. You have him as wide receiver 39, whereas KTC has him as wide receiver 27. Give us the bearish case on Jordan Addison, I guess.
Yeah, so if you can remember back to Deshaun's episode, we talked a bit about Jordan Addison and Zay Flowers. They've finished very similarly over the last 2 years. They were in the same draft class. Addison specifically, wide receiver 21 last year, wide receiver 23 the year prior. And I know we were talking about how Zay is kind of going to be a perennial mid to low end wide receiver too. Now, to me, if they've both been the same, obviously the big thing on Zay, which this isn't, whatever, I'm just going to talk. The big thing about Zay is he doesn't score touchdowns, but he still finishes around where Jordan Addison is. The thing with Jordan Addison is he's had uh over quadruple no, he's had okay, that's bad math. He's had 20 touchdowns over his first 2 years, and I believe Zay has only had eight, and they're finishing around the same. He's never been over 1,000 yards. He caught 70 balls his rookie year and then 63 last year. Um, Now I know I've been glazing JJ McCarthy all offseason. Big believer
Yes,
in him
can
and
confer.
KLC and the offense. Obviously, they have Justin Jefferson. Um, to me, it's the touchdown thing. Touchdowns aren't sticky, and especially looking into this year, it's hard to think JJ McCarthy is going to throw 35 touchdown passes, um, which helped Jordan Addison get his 10 last year, obviously. Um, I'm just not a believer. I initially left him off the big 40. Um, I figured I had to show a little bit of, I don't know, something and put him on the list.
Now,
I'm
how
just not
much of this ranking has to do with your fandom of the Chicago Bears? Because that's what affected your Jordan Love ranking.
none
A
actually.
lot, a little,
No,
or none.
none.
Interesting.
It's just you give me a guy who's never been over 1,000 yards, never caught 75 passes, and his calling card is scoring deep touchdowns. Now, for some people that works, like Rashid Shaheed, but you're not putting Rashid Shaheed isn't a lineup lock. Like I think people assume Addison is. I don't know if this is making any sense, but
It's kind of
I'm
making
just
sense.
I'm not buying the if you give him a season with if you give him a Zay touchdown season, if you give him 4 touchdowns this year, I don't think he's in the top 36 personally. And
So if you give him worse production than he's had, he'll still be ranked higher than you have him.
Tyler, you're with me.
To be clear, all three of us are below consensus on Jordan Addison. I have him at 33. Tyler has him at 32. You have him at 39. So we're all with you that we're low on Addison.
I've made all my points.
Tyler, do you have any additional points to add?
I'll just say, having formerly had Jordan Addison on my team, he's without a doubt top three most frustrating fantasy players I've had. Not frustrating and underperforming, just the inconsistency of their matches,
Week to
games.
week production, you're saying?
Yes, yes. I just like it's just one of those things where it feels like you start him, okay, that's 3 points. Sit him on your bench, 20 burger. And it's like, okay, how do I deal with this? So yeah, I'm below consensus on him as well, kind of for that reason.
Is 20 points enough to call it a burger?
What's the burger threshold here?
I usually save it for a minimum of 30, usually 40.
That's right. I feel like the burger can't happen. Like, yeah, it has to be like a memorable performance.
Cevan, your thoughts on the burger question?
Re-ask it. I didn't even understand it.
So Cevan said, or Tyler
Or
said that he drops a 20 burger. Is 20 points enough to say to give him a burger on that? I feel
Yeah,
like
it
20 is too
is.
low.
No, 20
I
bird. Oh yeah, no, I think 30.
I was gonna say a 30
30.
burger, I feel like is the lowest you can go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
speaking
sorry,
of
that's not true. You can say, oh, well, that's a nothing burger. So like
Yeah.
really, really bad, that's fine. But I feel like it's got to be at least 30 to be a burger.
that's
Yeah.
true. One
Reed's
more thing, one more thing I'll say on Addison is just looking through his game log last year, there was only I know touchdowns help you get in the double digits, but he only had one game that he was in double digits that he didn't score a touchdown. So
Sure.
it's really just does he score or not? And that determines if you're happy. And obviously well, not more often than not. There was one game he had a triple touchdown burger that
I don't know if that
that
works,
really,
but I appreciate it.
yeah, no, we, we
But
we got it. He's got to score to be super relevant.
yeah.
That's fair.
Reed's gonna be pissed when Anthony Richardson drops an 8 burger week one.
If he drops an 8 burger, I'll be happy that he dropped an 8 burger because that means he's starting and that means I won.
Okay.
I told the haters, or I was right. The haters, bad call on that one. So, if we're talking about week to week consistency, and even year to year consistency, it's a good segue into why I have DJ Moore so low. Um, I just don't think that DJ Moore is going to be the beneficiary of Ben Johnson's offense.
One.
I'm, what did you just say?
Oh, I'm counting the Ben Johnson counter. Sorry, go on.
No, that's fine. I'm not going to mention him that much more. That he's not the reason that I'm propping up a bad player. So again, we're talking about a player who has been on the Bears for 2 years now. He had a very good year 2 years ago, not nearly as good last year. Clearly, we all are aware of the quitting on plays in the middle of the play after an interception that happened. We're at the point now where
Dude,
the Bear.
he was hurt.
Okay, okay, buddy. I just I think we're at a point now. They drafted two pass catchers, one in the top 10 and a second rounder that has a very similar skill set to DJ Moore at 28 years old without the guaranteed upside that comes with other veteran receivers. He's just not somebody that I'm crazy about hitting the draft button on in redraft, especially at his fourth, fifth round price tag. And if he's not going to have the ceiling of other veteran players that I have ranked higher than him, like Tyreek, Mike Evans, or Devontae Adams, he's not somebody that I'm super interested in the young and could get better or the veteran with guaranteed production. He just doesn't fit into either of those buckets for me. So I have him considerably below consensus, much to Tyler's dismay. Had a couple of crash outs this week on it. It's been lovely to see. But I feel very confident in my DJ Moore ranking that like if he has another year like he had last year where he's, 900 to 1,000 yards, no crazy touchdowns, like what do you do with him at that point? You've got then your two rookies that are a lot more experienced than they were this year. Rome hopefully had a good year. Like again, you're also betting on a quarterback that was, given the situation he was in, wasn't bad, but was not a plus NFL quarterback last year. Overhauled offensive line. There's a lot of changes, and I feel like the incumbent from the past regime, who's getting paid handsomely, isn't necessarily the first guy that's going to be at the top of the list to keep involved, as opposed to the young guys that were handpicked. So again, I don't dislike DJ Moore. I had no question about whether he was going to be on the list. I just have him below consensus considerably. So I'm talking to a Bears fan and the owner of DJ Moore. We'll go to Cevan first because I know he's a friendly face in this battle.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely take him over uh, a handful of names you have
That's
above
fair.
him, but I do see both sides. I see your side and I see Tyler's side of where the rest of his career goes, which is the ranking.
So like
Now,
just because you brought that up, I think it's a good point. So like right, I have DJ Moore at 38, and then in the next tier above him, the bottom three names are Terry McLaurin, who I feel like is also a veteran and has a much higher expectation of production than DJ Moore. Jordan Addison and Zay Flowers, who put up comparable production to DJ Moore, and they're 4 to 5 years younger. So again, like these are names that I feel pretty comfortable putting ahead of him because I know they're either younger with a chance to get better or they're going to be better this year and probably next year too, depending on where he's at.
yeah, definitely. It's just like I said, I see both sides of your arguments. There is the side that DJ is still the wide receiver one, and everybody's just making a big deal, and then there's the side where he gets overtaken by the rookies and second year players. So, um, the one thing I will say is he does have a huge extension that he's just over a year on, or almost a year, and so I mean he's tied to Chicago at least hypothetically for a long time. And so it might be a situation where they're forced. I'm not under the impression he's a bad player, but he's going to be on this team for at least a year, and this he'll be definitely be a fun name to look back on uh, after the season wraps up.
Tyler, your thoughts on DJ Moore and my ranking, perhaps?
Yeah, I'll stand up for the fella here. You, I feel pretty confident that you're downplaying his upside. He dropped 420 burgers last year, if
Oh
you will.
God.
So it's not, in my mind, DJ Moore is a consistent 15 points per week with the chance to do more. I know there were weeks last year that he scored less than that, yes, but there are more weeks than not that he was kind of right around that 15-point threshold that I have in my mind. Maybe it's closer to 14 points, but I do think the thought of him getting lost in the shuffle of Chicago is a little bit overblown here. He got paid like a wide receiver one, and DJ Moore has been a wide receiver one his entire career, or at least on whatever team he is, not necessarily in fantasy. And so, in my mind, I think I value uh, what the consistency of a wide receiver a bit more than you do, Reed. I mean, we've talked about this a lot, but the I'm a little bit more cautious in how like to assemble my fantasy teams. And I understand that DJ Moore and Terry McLaurin are a little bit safer, but I'm fine with that. No, depending on the context, I'd rather have that than someone like Jordan Addison, who, like I was just talking about, will give you both ends of the spectrum there. So DJ Moore, I don't think 28 is like it's fine age. It's not he's not
It's a
32
fine
and
age.
it's like he's not right. I don't think
I guess
he's
the reason I use 28 is that I don't know, like when you're 28, if you haven't seen
yeah.
a ceiling by that point, like if you haven't seen what he can do, I don't really know a year at that age how much more there is to
No,
grow.
I mean in 2023 he was the wide receiver six.
Okay, yeah, if you want to look at his total points, but he was also, if you look at his points per game,
At this
conveniently,
that's fu- I
he
mean
was
yeah.
wide receiver nine, which is again, I'm not arguing how good his 23 was,
Yeah.
but if you look at what the Bears look like in 2023 and what the Bears look like in 2025, they are basically a different team.
Oh, 100%. But he posts every year, and I will take that known, and I will value that higher than some of the unknown of players like Jordan Addison, like Josh Downs, So
That's fair.
I I still think DJ Moore is a great player, and I'm honestly I think you are also putting more stock than I am into Colston Loveland and Luther Burden. I I like Luther Burden. I've never been the biggest Colston fan. Uh, honestly, we've argued about the Bears tight ends way too much. So who's to say how that looks? I don't think any of us really know how that target breakdown is going to look in Chicago. And that's what leads to some of these vast array of opinions here is that everyone kind of thinks a little bit differently than each other. I think Cevan's pretty squarely in the Rome camp. I
To
am a
say the
big fan.
least.
I'm a big fan of DJ Moore still, and then I think you correct me if I'm wrong, but you kind of think it's like going to be pretty spread out, and Colston and Luther are going to be pretty involved right away. Whereas I don't think.
No, I don't think Luther will be involved right away. I do think Colson will be involved right away, but I'm if I had to guess, I would definitely think that DJ Moore is second on the team in targets this year, which is not a
Yeah.
bad thing. Like I'm not saying that Rome's going to get a ton more targets, but if I had to bet, I would pick Rome to get more targets. And again, at that point, you're looking at the wide receiver two on his own team that's 28 years old with a lot of target competition. So not the guy that I would be wanting to hit draft on, compared to other guys, like I said, I think have more to
He,
gain or have more guaranteed production right now.
yeah, yeah. All right.
If
That's fine. I'll
let
leave
me
it
chime
there.
in real quick.
Yeah.
If we were doing a draft and redraft, if you could only draft Bears players on where they're drafted, where their ADP is, taking Cole Kmet out of this, we're talking the big four where they're at. I think I
Zacchaeus?
would go okay, maybe the big five. No. I think DJ would be the last one on ADP. I think the better bets would be Colston and Rome, just based off ADP. And like I said, there is a world where DJ is still the one, but like Reed said, even if uh, I think personally Rome and DJ will be within
10 or
10 to
20
15.
targets. Yeah,
Yeah,
something like that.
exactly. By season's end. Now, whether that's 130 for Rome and 110, that would be a big downgrade considering DJ's got 140 targets plus the last two seasons. So um, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think everybody's got their eyes on Chicago this year, and yeah, it'll it'll be fun.
It will be fun. I'm happy to not be relying on a Bears player to start the year because I agree with what Tyler said that we have no idea what the pecking order is going to be. It's anyone's guess. So, got some risers here. Cevan has Matthew Golden. wide receiver 25 in his rankings, which is actually 4 spots below the consensus on KTC of wide receiver 21. So, Cevan, you're wide receiver 1 in the draft this year on the Packers. A lot of injuries now to their pass catchers. Jordan Love is hurt, but hopefully back for week 1. Why is Matthew Golden rising this year?
Yeah, so I mean, going back like 4 months ago when we were talking about the draft, uh, loved Matthew Golden's game. Reed's knock on him is uh, he didn't have as much college production. And if you rewind a year ago about this time when I drafted, or when Pickles drafted Lad McConkey, Reed's first notion, don't know what that word means, was Lad McConkey didn't have much college production. I believe it was like 700 yards or something. And sometimes that's just how players translate to the NFL is as they get drafted off traits, play style, whatever their niche is,
Good.
and it works in the NFL. And I
Well,
think
Lad was hurt in college his senior or his last year, to be fair,
either
which is
way he
why
didn't produce.
he was also far behind Brock Bowers, who also was very good.
Yes. Anyways, um, everybody knows Packers don't draft first round wide receivers. They've also been they they're kind of the home of the wide receiver twos. They don't have an alpha wide receiver one. Now, Matthew Golden doesn't profile like an alpha wide receiver one, but from all the camp stuff, I'm buying into it. He's he's the receiver. I believe it's him and Dobbs in 12 personnel. Everybody was hoping it was going to be Jaden Reed getting more 12 personnel snaps, but it looks like Matthew Golden already has a lock on that. So the more you're on the field, the more opportunity you have to earn targets, and earning targets is the number one thing to score fantasy points. The more targets you have, the more opportunities you have to catch the ball, and the more opportunities you have to score points.
Math. What
Yes,
are your
it's
thoughts on his jersey number choice? Does that downgrade him at all for you?
um definitely has no aura.
I
Um
know.
22, I don't know what the thought behind that was. I know it's just like Rashid Shaheed is number 22, I think. It's bad. But yeah, all the camp stuff says he's the number one wide receiver. They kind of ran the ball out of necessity last year as Jordan Love was kind of hamstrung by injury. He got in week 1. Now he's already hurt again, so we'll see. He's got like he tore a ligament in his non-throwing hand, thumb or something like that.
Hmm.
So
Might be Malik
not
Willis time.
yeah. And even then, that's not that bad. Malik Willis is kind of good. Not gonna lie.
Oh,
I should pick him up.
he's
But
good if he throws 12 times a game, which would
yeah,
not be good for Matthew Golden.
that's true. But moral of the story is, I believe
Yep.
he's going to be the wide receiver one on the Packers, and it's not going to be like a. I
Hmm.
know Reed hates this term, but a wide receiver by committee.
Every wide receiver group is a wide receiver by committee because they throw it to a bunch of guys. And just like our running back group as well, all 3 of us are below consensus on all 4 of the top rookies, being uh, Travis Hunter, McMillan, Egbuka, and Golden. All 3 of us are below consensus on all 4 of those players. So it should be a compliment that Matthew Golden is 29 in Savant's rankings and actually 27 for Tyler and I. So we're above our past consensus as we have been on rookies on Golden. So we're all a fan of the situation he's in, and I don't have any other thoughts from Savan. I echo everything he said. He was someone I considered for this section as well. Tyler.
Yeah, nothing else to add there.
And it was interesting because I feel like we were pretty negative on Golden when we did Sandy's episode, but that was
Yeah.
also partially because of the pure amount of Packers pass catchers that he has.
Well,
But
I specifically remember Tyler saying all he can do is run fast
oh God,
after he was glazing Xavier Worthy.
oh
Well,
classic.
I'm still not the biggest Matthew Golden fan, but I'm
You've warmed up a little bit.
yeah. I mean, I
Just like
can't hit.
Savant said, he appreciates you willing to change your mind.
He hasn't done anything, so I can't hate too much right now.
That's fair. Well, if we're talking about guys who haven't done anything, we should not segue into you having Josh Downs because that guy's a stud. Josh Downs, wide receiver 40 on KTC, very last name on the KTC list as of when we did it, this list earlier this week. Um, I feel like a proud dad as all 3 of us are above consensus myself at 31, Tyler 34, Cevan at 33. So Tyler, 6 spots above consensus. Josh Downs is the GOAT. Tell us why.
It's pretty simple with Josh Downs. He's entering his third year, and he's just gotten better each year he's been in the league. They're the Colts pass catchers are something of an uncertainty, but I think Josh Downs is probably the safest option right now in that offense as a pass catcher. I don't think it super matters who's starting under center. I think Josh Downs kind of weather that. I mean, last year he showed that he could weather that with some quarterback changes last year. Played in the slot quite a bit last year, and in doing so, he's able to post better reception and touchdown numbers than he did in his rookie year. I think that he just will continue to show out this year, and I am pretty weary of Michael Pittman. I think you guys would agree. And Tyler Warren, he's great, tight end. I think it has to be Josh Downs. He's a lot of fun to watch. He looks like a good football player when you watch him. That's some next level analysis
The
there, but
vibes are high on him, you're saying.
I think they are. I
Yeah.
mean, what maybe
Yeah.
you have more to expound on, but I just don't see how he stays around this wide receiver 35-ish range. I it doesn't feel like he's hit his ceiling yet when
Hmm.
you've watched him and when you see his numbers.
I'll expound about Josh Downs all the time. But I will say for myself, first off, like I said, we're recording this on Saturday night. The Colts just finished their preseason game a few hours ago. Uh, and Steichen said they're very close to announcing the starting quarterback. And if it's not Anthony Richardson on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, we might have to have an Anthony Richardson crash out pod for me this week. I've used crash out like 4 times, but if they don't name him the starter after what he did today, I'm going to be pretty livid. I will disagree that I do think it matters who's under center, but I
Okay.
think it's better short term if it's Daniel Jones because he can't throw the ball more than 10 yards, and that's where Josh Downs lives. But I think it's much better long term if it's Richardson to continue to develop the rapport and find an option for him that you can rely on. His issue is he got hurt in practice, joint practice this week on Thursday with a hamstring injury. Unsure if it's going to affect his week 1 availability, but he was hurt to start both his rookie year and his sophomore year. So this would be the third straight year he was hurt running into the season, which is not always that encouraging. But at the same time, he's just a very good football player. The other doubt that's kind of creeped up on me, and I mentioned this to you guys off the pod, but he and Tyler Warren are both going to dominate the short part of the field. And I'm worried that Tyler Warren will take up more of the volume than I was hoping he would. Not that I didn't want Tyler Warren to be good, but when I traded for Josh Downs and was all over the moon for him, I was all in on him dominating that short part of the field because he's just so good at getting open. And
So
the
real
more,
quick,
yep,
sorry, real quick. So you were scared to trade for someone with target competition?
no, not at all. That's why I traded for him. I'm saying that I believe that his volume might not be as consistent week to week as I was hoping it would be. I when I traded for him, they had Tyler Warren when I traded for him. That wasn't new. But I was hoping he was going to be a 7 to 10 targets just about every week. He's open all the time. He's great after the catch. Like he was going to be the motor of their offense when they got Anthony Richardson to work in the underneath area more. And I'm worried now he might be a 4 target, 10 target, 8 target, 3 target, 5 target, seven. So like it's just going to be less consistent than I hoped. But there's no doubt that he is one of the best, if not the best pass catcher on their roster, and he's going to be an integral part of their offense as long as he can stay on the field.
Yeah, for me, love Josh Downs, the player. He's a behind the scenes metrics type wide receiver. He does all his, you know, advanced metrics say he should be really good. A big thing of him though, I believe the number is either 9 or 16. I think it's 9. He has 9 targets in 12 personnel over two
Hmm.
years, which is just it's like to wrap your mind around that is insane. So a big thing for him is just getting on the field when there's two receivers. If he plays in two receiver sets, that'll jump his
Yeah,
volume
which I don't
by
think he will this year at all.
who would it be? Pittman
Pittman
and
and
Pierce?
Pierce, yeah, they're pretty
Or
much locked in there. I'd be, it's a very valid point. I'm not necessarily saying I was expecting him to be in that role, but I was hoping that given any development as a passer from Richardson, they simply increase the volume of passes. And like even if you look at last year, like Tyler mentioned, between switching quarterbacks, Richardson being just straight up bad as a passer, like he was still relatively consistent with the volume he was getting. So I'm hoping that with more development as a passer, just simply going from, bottom three in the league to maybe 25th in passing volume, that he can continue to increase that. So we'll see. I could see him being like wide receiver 18 at the end of the year. I could also see him not being on this list at the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, not being in the top 40. Oh, I guess we're
I mean,
only
if
at 34.
I was gonna say he's 34, all of us have him in the low to mid 30s, and he's 40 on KTC. Like if he has another year where he's like 700 to 800 yards, you're 3 years in at that point, not playing in
Yeah,
12 personnel. Maybe they still haven't figured out quarterback. Like that's not someone that would appear on this list if I had to guess, no
it's
matter how
true.
good the underlying metrics are.
Yeah.
So big fan, proud dad of you guys to be in on Josh Downs, but
Yeah.
a little bit less, slightly less bullish than I was when he was my white whale a couple months ago.
People forget I was in on Josh Downs before you
Yes,
even
I meant
started.
to mention that you were all in on Josh Downs in his rookie year in the first part of the year. And then I think he got hurt or something in the
Mhm.
middle of the year again. And then you kind of fade off. But I remember that you were all in on Josh Downs and I didn't even know who that was at the time.
Yeah.
So just like Cevan, as some of you don't know, he rostered Anthony Richardson on our redraft league for the entirety of his rookie year, and he was all in on him in the first couple of weeks when he was going ham. So all the hate you hear is just the jealous ex that he is, that he didn't get Richardson in our startup draft.
I did not know. Like, this was just realized a couple weeks ago. I actually had no idea that I did that.
Hmm.
But it sounds like me, so
It does. It sound well. He was on your IR while you had Tom Brady and Larry Fitzgerald and Frank Gore on your bench for that championship week. So
yeah.
he was there with all the studs. My riser is Chris Olave. I have him at wide receiver 23, which is 10 spots above consensus. Not an uncommon sentiment among us, as combined, we have him as the average of wide receiver 25. We have him as 5, 8, and 10 spots above consensus. I just think he's a really good football player. If the Saints are even below average offensively, as long as they're not an absolute train wreck, Chris Olave is going to be ranked higher than he is now. Like if you look at where he was going at this time last year, like he was going at the 3-4 turn, right around this spot, if not higher among wide receivers. So the talent has not changed. I'm not going to comment about the injuries. Concussions are scary and whatever, but I'm not going to draft someone like, oh, well, what if he gets another concussion? Well, what if anybody gets a concussion? Like, not a concern of mine. I think he's someone that's just a really good football player, and if Saints get any sort of quality whatsoever out of their quarterback position, he's going to be someone that is ranked a lot higher than wide receiver 33 this time next year.
For me, I think the Saints are just going to be so bad that they're going to, be trailing a lot of games. And I mean, sometimes it's not bad to have a really good talent on a really bad team just to soak up, garbage time. Always having to be in pass mode. The real concern there is the quarterback situation, obviously, and the health. I think that's kind of what's baked into his
Very
KTC
much so.
value. Um, because yeah, I mean we're 2 weeks away and they still don't know the quarterback. That's not 2 weeks. We're like 3 weeks away and still don't have a starting quarterback. That's never good. He's he's really only they have Brandon Cooks, but it's really just Chris Olave. So he might just be volume to death this year. Um, and yeah, we'll see. Like I said, great talent. It's just situations sketchy. But yeah, I don't know if I agree with the riser category. I think he's more of a volatile player, but I understand the point that's made.
Um, sorry. I guess I meant riser as opposed to KTC. I'm not necessarily saying he's going to rise from like my 23, but I definitely would see him ranked closer to where I have him at this time next year. So I guess I don't know if I remembered how we were defining this wrong, but yes, I agree with all your points. I also think Rashid Shaheed is good at football, better than he's just
Oh
the
yeah,
pure
forgot
deep
about him.
threat. So, Tyler, any Olave thoughts?
He was gonna be who I was gonna put here for my riser.
Let's go.
But yeah, wanted to change it up. So yeah, I'm in agreement.
Okay, good. Fowlers. Interesting names here. Two of the skinniest players in football, and Lad McConkey. I have I was debating with Cevan earlier today whether mine even makes sense here to have Xavier Worthy above consensus, but then have him as a faller. I wasn't really sure if that even made sense, but I feel confident in my case here. As we've mentioned with Xavier Worthy before, I don't think his role is going to impede on Rashee's role that much. I think he turns back into a intermediate to deep player, and I think a lot of what people think he's going to be is hoping that he gets what he did towards the end of the season when his fantasy production kicked up, was when he was taking those manufactured touches that usually go to Rashee after he developed a little more throughout the season. And I think people are hoping that he takes more of that because that's a lot more fantasy friendly week to week role. And I think by the end of the year, people are going to see that as not going to be his role and he will be much more of a spike player. Like Pat was just not good throwing the ball deep last year. They didn't connect on like any of the ones that they tried, whether that be his fault or Pat's fault. So I think he'll have more spike week games, but I think he'll have a lot lower week to week floor than he did in the second half of the year last year. So I think for a player with that kind of volatility profile, I just don't think he's someone that will be ranked like this next at this time next year. I see him much more as like a low 30s type guy where again, you have spike weeks, but you're less week to week consistency. And that's something that I think is less sexy than the PPR scam role that Rasheed will be in their offense for an unknown amount of time this season. Tyler,
Yeah, I
big
was
Xavier
just
Worthy backer.
I like Xavier Worthy. I was just gonna ask, do you prefer him or Jordan Addison? Probably Worthy.
Definitely him. I mean,
I was
I've
trying.
Worthy at 20 and I've Addison at
Yeah, I guess I was looking
33.
at your
Yeah,
rankings.
no, I think Worthy is actually, I'll give a lot of credit here. I think Worthy is a much more complete player than I thought he was going to be. Like,
Hmm.
I think he's actually a very good route runner. He's not just a run straight guy, which, again, I didn't know anything about him last year. I wasn't that into the draft last year. But when you see the time that he put up, I was like, okay, here's a guy who's going to run really fast. And then the Chiefs want to throw the ball deep more, and then bang. But I think he's actually a very good route runner. I think he actually fits the offense really well. And I think they're going to use him a lot more effectively this year now that he's developed more. So I am actually a fan of the player. It's a little unfortunate that he's in the situation that he's in where he's just not going to be the alpha on his own team when Rasheed is
Yeah.
on the
The
field.
thing is, so with a player like Worthy, he doesn't need to be the alpha
Correct.
because he is. I mean, there's arguably no one else in the league that can break off a play like he could with his game-breaking speed.
No, I
So,
mean, you're absolutely right. That's why I said, like, I like the player. I think he's going to have value. I just
mhm,
don't think he's going to be valued at this level, given that his week to week floor will be a little bit lower. Not a
yeah.
little bit. It will be lower than it was last year when he was getting more manufactured touches, is I guess my point. I think the player is very good.
This is hard because like you're giving him praise, but I also see what you're saying.
Hmm.
So it's like I don't really know how to like counter what you're saying because you're like, no, I agree, but you just
Well,
said
you can just say, right on, buddy.
it's like I don't think he'll fall that like will he be maybe a
He's
little
still only
bit lower?
22. So it's not
Yeah,
like even if he does have a kind of an up and down spike week, floor week year, he's still going to have spike weeks and he's 22. So like I don't really see any way sans a crazy injury or crazy underutilization that he's off the list. I just don't see him as like a high 20s guy this time next year is all.
right.
Savan,
Yeah, love love the talent. Like the situation, like Tyler was saying, he doesn't need to be the alpha wide receiver one. Um, you're also gonna have those couple manufactured touches, whether on jet tosses, reverses, whatever. So I mean, getting a couple of those a game stacks, and then along with what Reed was saying, if Pat connects with the deep ball this year, I mean that's his specialty. But he is really a complete player. And then you have the whole year, or the whole offseason developing, establishing his role that he had to earlier than expected last year, with Rice going out. So built chemistry. I
garbage
also
time
don't
king in the
think,
Super Bowl.
yep. I also don't think he's going to be a faller. I think he's more uh, of just a maintain type of guy. I don't think anybody's gonna. not want the wide receiver two for Patrick Mahomes. So I think kind of just being tied to the name value will keep him where he's at. But he's a fine player nonetheless.
Who was
Um,
the number two wide receiver for the majority of the Chiefs season last year?
that's a great
Noah Gray.
question. It does like Travis
Wide
doesn't count.
receiver. You just
Hmm.
said you said who doesn't want the number two wide receiver in a Chiefs offense. So I'm asking who the number two wide receiver was for the majority of their season last year.
Do you know who it was?
I know who
Is it Juju?
probably. My
Yes.
point was they didn't have a second wide receiver last year that produced consistently. So
I
I
got you.
disagree with that statement in particular.
But
But in general, if the Chiefs are better, like I think they will be, then I agree with your point.
yes, also
The
after
Sammy
this year
Watkins role,
there will be no Travis Kelce after this year. So
True.
probably. Not that you want him on your team anyway. Hint for
ex
next week preview.
exa definitely.
Well, if we're talking about complete wide receivers, we've got two of them here, and we're going to start with Tyler. Lad McConkey, you have as a faller after an
Ooh.
1,100-yard rookie season, quarterbacked by Justin Herbert. Why is Lad McConkey a faller as a top 12 wide receiver for you right now, where you have him two spots below consensus?
Yeah, Lad McConkey had a near perfect rookie season. He had 1,149 yards on 82 receptions and turned in 7 touchdowns. It doesn't get much better than that for a rookie wide receiver or any wide receiver, really. And so when Keep Trade Cut has him ranked as wide receiver 10, me wide receiver 12 right now, I I don't think it gets that much better for Lad McConkey. It feels like the only way is down for Lad in a run first offense that has added Keenan Allen at least for this year and drafted Trey Harris in the second round, third round. I can't remember.
Second.
Second. I just I don't see how the chips fall that way again this year for Lad. Who knows about the years after, but he is being ranked at his peak right now. When I look at the names that are ranked above him or right around him, I don't think he passes them this year. And so I just feel like it's easy for me to just sit here and say that he will fall. Might not be a total disappointment or anything like that, but I've kind of been vocal about how I am not in on Lad McConkey this year. Wasn't last year either, and obviously I was wrong about that. But to me, he feels more like he will be in that wide receiver 15 to 25 range
Mm.
uh at this time next year. So for me it's not knocking what he was last year or anything. It's just last year feels like it was his peak. The offense it's run heavy. They've added more receivers. I just don't see him repeating that season with ease. Maybe it
Mm.
happens, but I would be more than willing to bet it does not.
Very fair. I mean, I have Lad McConkey at 10. I am the highest of you guys, and I'm right at keep trade cut consensus right there. So I don't think I don't think I disagree necessarily. I just don't necessarily see like I think he's actually a very good football player. I watched more Chargers games than I realized last year, just from
Mhm.
like crossover Chiefs, other guys that I had. So I feel like he ended up growing into a really, really good player at the end of the year. So for me, like I just think that the competition he's going to have target wise will help him. Keenan Allen will open up things underneath, make it easier to use him creatively as opposed to having the defense focus on him. Trey Harris adds a vertical element to it, and then Justin Herbert's just really, really good at throwing the football. So I don't. I feel like you guys felt about Worthy. Well, I don't necessarily think he's going to be a riser, but I also don't really see him as a faller. I think he's more of a maintain in that, like you said, 10 to like 15 range, I think would be where I'd see him this time next year. Cevan, jealous X opinion. You're the lowest on him at wide receiver 14. What do you got?
I think my ranking's much more appropriate. I think big
That makes
over,
sense.
yes, but big overreaction. I don't think enough stock, at least whoever is doing this KTC stuff, is put into. Again, they added three receivers, a tight end, and two new running backs, another starting offensive lineman, and the most important thing, it's a Greg Roman offense where they want to run the ball and they spent their first round pick on Amari and Hampton. Um, on top of that, I've already dropped this on a pod before, but Greg Roman has never produced two top 12 players at different positions on the same team um, in all of his years being an offensive coordinator. Uh, I'm much more in line with Tyler. With I think that is about around the peak, and if he doesn't ex I'm under the impression if he doesn't exceed what he did last year, he'll be a faller. Even if he repeats what he did last year,
Yeah.
if he even repeats, he'll be a faller because he'll be at his ceiling again. People behind him will improve. If you just look at the names around him, I think there's a much easier path inside the top 10 for quite a few guys below him. Marvin, JSN, Garrett, AJ Brown, Tetaroa, Travis, Ekbuka, Rice, Adunze.
So,
I think
so if you're saying he repeats what he did last year, he's going to fall. What has Garrett Wilson done for the last 3 years? He's in the same spot. He hasn't moved really, and he's done exactly that for 3 years in a row now.
me 2 seconds. Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson, G. Willie, who's available for trade, by the way, if anyone's listening. He's on the trade block.
Uh, sorry, you caught me off guard. Sorry. I guess to your point, Garrett Wilson has had Zach Wilson. He's had Devontae Adams. He's got your boy Justin Fields now.
My
He's
boy.
had uh, whoever was before Zach Wilson. No, yeah, sorry. He had Zach Wilson for 2 years. Yeah, you get the point. I mean, you're saying obviously Justin Herbert's an elite quarterback. It's just the volume mixed with target competition mixed with the style of play. Um, yeah, I just think we've already seen peak Lad McConkey, which was great. He's a great wide receiver, but at the end of the day,
Also,
Interesting.
yeah,
uh, Garrett Wilson, his rank has fluctuated over the years. He peaked at wide receiver 6 in 2024, like
Well,
after he
that's
had his
yeah, that was we had like a 20 target game, I'm sure, and they hadn't traded for Devontae yet. Like, but at the end of the year, like you said, you guys are saying if he does the same thing this
no,
year that he did last year, at this time next year, he'll be ranked lower.
I actually not necessarily lower, but I get what Cevan's saying because people see a great rookie year, second year, and think progression is linear with players that they'll just like, okay, he showed out. He was wide receiver 6 last year. He can go up to wide receiver 4 or something like that. And it's just like, that's not when it happens for the first time, it's awesome and it's cool and people love it. When it happens for the second time, I feel like there is a sense of letdown. It's like, oh, I was expecting more. I'm not saying that
Well,
it's,
does he need to do more? I mean, how much more do you need when he's
I'm
82
not,
catches for 1,150 yards and seven
no, 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 no.
touchdowns? Like, are you saying that's
I'm
not?
not saying I would move him drastically down though. Well, I'm speaking more of like the public, if you will. Does that make sense? Come on,
yeah.
tracking.
That's how I've thought of every time I say they're a faller or a riser.
Okay, I'm here for it. I disagree that if he does what he does again, that he'll go down. But
Well, to your
I'm
Garrett
not
Wilson
saying
point, a lot of like you said he was wide receiver 6 last year. A lot of that had to do with,
who
he's
was
going from
who was wide receiver 6?
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson,
What do you
not
mean?
on the year, like valued at wide receiver
Oh
six.
yeah,
Peak
yeah, yeah. It
is
was
Yeah,
after
yeah.
that game. I think
But
they were
is
overseas.
no,
actually
no,
no,
no.
no. It was
No,
before
no,
the
no, no, no.
season.
My point is
Really?
a
Mhm.
lot of that is like, he's going from Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers. Well, you can't really go anywhere but down from Justin Herbert. And so all of this is already baked into him being wide receiver 10. And to, from my point of view, it looks like it's all a projection. And I don't know with everything they've got going on now, how
What are they
much more
projecting?
a bigger jump.
He was already really, really good.
I understand and I agree. I just think if you're going to be a top 10 wide receiver, you have 1500 you have 1510 potential. And I don't think just in the offense, I don't think Ladd has that capability in him. Whereas I could make an argument for every single other name inside the top 10.
That's fair. But you have Garrett Wilson at 11. Does he have that?
No,
So 10's the hard line. Once you get outside of 10, nobody can do it.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying inside the top 10. All 1 through 9, you can make an argument could win a triple crown.
Okay, that's
Everybody
fair.
except for Ladd. Is that's fair?
I mean, yeah, but I disagree with the that putting Ladd saying Ladd is ranked as them and then saying that these guys are that much better than him when again, like again, in your rankings, you have AJ Brown at 10, then you have Garrett Wilson at 11. So you're saying it's literally a hard line at 10 that everybody outside that doesn't have that ceiling anymore.
Well, I mean, the shoe fits. AJ Brown could do it
Then why don't you have AJ Brown a tier higher?
because this is a dynasty. He's 28 years old. I mean, do we need to get into that?
Okay, okay, whatever. I think you guys are wrong, but that's fine. That's the point of the pod. Well, off of the fallers, we have our high volatility. Oh God, I forgot to change the
Oh,
picture.
did you talk about Devontae Smith?
Oh yeah, you're right. We didn't. Devontae Smith.
Ah, got you, Cevan.
We spent so much time on Lad, I had forgotten. Cevan Devontae Smith, you have him as wide receiver 22, very similar to consensus at wide receiver 21. Why is he a faller this year?
Yeah, nobody can deny Smitty the talent. I think he's a wide receiver one. I think he would be a wide receiver one on a lot of teams. We're just at the point. He's kind of hamstrung by AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley, the passing volume in the offense. Um, Now, while that should take a jump, he's kind of just lived in that low end wide receiver two area his whole career. That's probably all he's going to be for fantasy. He's just going to be a better, I mean, he is just a better NFL wide receiver than fantasy. At this time next year, he'll be 27 years old. He still has the contract. But I mean, being a top 24 wide receiver when you're not producing as a top 24 wide receiver is kind of just speaks for itself on why I think he'll be a faller. Is I don't think there's really a reason he would be.
He was wide receiver 17 in points per game last year, though.
Oh, but what was he overall?
Well, he got a concussion. There wasn't really much he could do
Okay.
about that.
So he was wide receiper 27 last year.
Sure, yeah, I guess so.
Um, but yeah, either way, no matter how you draw it up,
Except for the way that I drew it up.
sure. If we want to fit Reed's narrative, we
He
can
was
do
wide
that.
receiver 21 in 2023, which was a top
He was wide
24 wide
receiver
receiver.
19.
He was wide receiver 14 in 2022. So 3 years in a row, he's been a top 24 wide receiver.
Okay, depending on however you use it. Either way, he's a mid to low end wide receiver too. He's a better NFL receiver. The number two option on a run heavy offense. He'll be a year older in a year, unless
Us,
AJ Brown retires this year or gets hurt. Um,
bruh.
I don't know. I don't see him.
Can I give you a tip? Every player will be a year older this time next year than they are now.
Yeah, but people don't like certain numbers,
That's fair.
certain
That
age
actually is very true.
thresholds. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean,
Tyler,
you
thoughts on
you guys,
Smitty?
yeah.
I like him. I believe I'm the highest on him between us three. I
Yes, you're the only one above
He
consensus.
went 17. It's a pretty aggressive ranking.
yeah, I think if well he's been great. I mean, every year since he's been in the league. So, I mean, same kind of thing with DJ Moore that I was just
Oh,
talking about, that consistency. I Devontae has been pretty consistent throughout his career and
I
um
mean, he's a just over 100 target guy. I
yeah.
mean,
so it's imagine what they do if their pass rate goes up this year, a la your
Yeah.
AJ Brown argument.
The thing is too is like we have some of these I'm not entirely out of line here with where I have some of these uh I guess, number two pass catchers, if you will, with T. Higgins being a spot above him for me. Jalen Waddle is 4 spots below Devontae. Uh,
Xavier Worthy.
Xavier Worthy's not too far down there either. So it's just like if AJ Brown were to miss time, I think Devontae Smith would do quite well. That's not
He has
groundbreaking
done
or
that,
anything.
yeah, in the past.
So yeah, exactly. AJ Brown has missed time and he's showed out. So I'm I'm completely fine with where I have him. And I think yeah, he maintains this year or
Yeah.
next year.
I don't have any strong thoughts. I lean more towards maintain because he's been so consistent. So pending an injury, I don't see a massive underperformance season.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think we've all said this about each other's answers, but I see him more as a maintain than a faller. But you know, it is what it is. I just don't see a floor for him. If it wasn't last year, I don't know how much lower the floor is going to be. So.
Yeah.
Okay, off of our fallers now. Oh my God, I forgot to finish this slide still. Okay, whatever. I have Jalen Waddle here. Tyler has DK Metcalf, and Cevan has George Pickens. I'll start with myself so I don't forget these numbers. I have Jalen Waddle as high volatility. I have him for me at my wide receiver 25, which is above consensus by 4 spots. He's really high volatility to me because, as we've talked about, we don't have to go too much more in depth, but like we've seen the 1,300 yards and we've seen what happened last year. I just don't really know what to make of it. And as I think people are kind of on each end of the Dolphins are going to get back to normal and the Dolphins are going to be a train wreck scale, that's going to determine how his season goes. And if the Dolphins fall apart and he has another bad year, I don't think he's probably off this list next year, but he's definitely closer to 40 than he is to 20. So very high volatility, I think, going into this year, and someone that is a high risk, high reward for me, for my opinion. Any other Waddle thoughts before we move on?
Nope.
I yeah, I've already said my piece about him.
Okay.
Can I go next?
Do you want to go next?
Yes.
Okay, then we'll go to Savan here. George Pickens. You thought I was going to say Tyler. I'm not a dick. I respect our hosts here. George Pickens, wide receiver 23 for Savan, 1 spot above consensus at wide receiver 24. Dak Prescott's new weapon, hopefully unlocking the offense for a big year. Why is he a high volatility option for you, Savan?
I just want to start by saying I love George Pickens. The one trade I regret this offseason was the T. Higgins for George Pickens. I'm uber in on George Pickens this year. But yeah, high volatility is I mean, we've seen his first 3 years in the league, very inconsistent wide receiver. His skill set is contested catches, deep threat, outside the numbers, outside wide receiver. I mean, he profiles as your prototypical X wide receiver. He's 6'3", he's built. Now he's on an offense that's one desperately needed an outside receiver to pair with CeeDee Lamb. I think the complement George uh I think the complement to the Cowboys offense in George Pickens is about as seamless of a fit as you can have. The volatility part is what if the last 3 years we've watched really just wasn't the quarterbacks or the system? Maybe it was, locker room issues. Maybe it was selfishness. Maybe he doesn't mesh well with America's team. Um, so he was kind of a hard player to rank. I mean, the upside, he's still only 24 years old. Uh, Came in the league at 20. So yeah, I do have one fact about George Pickens. This is the volatility. So there's uh, two players in NFL history to reach this threshold. It is, um, s- sorry, the stat is in your first 3 years with at least 100 targets to average over 16 yards per catch. The names are George Pickens and Randy Moss. And now, while I'm not saying George Pickens is going to turn into Randy Moss,
That's what I
I
interpreted from it.
I am saying that only two people meet the requirements for this. And everybody knows George Pickens I mean, he's a walking highlight reel. He's fun to watch. He's on a very pass heavy offense, operating in his natural role of a wide receiver too. Uh, teams that play this isn't turning to volatility. I'm just loving on George. Teams that play the Cowboys, you can't focus on George Pickens. You have to play towards CeeDee Lamb, and so it's just going to create one-on-ones for Pickens. Uh, Dak. There's a stat I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Dak is a top three quarterback in uh 50. It's like 15 plus yard throw completion percentage, something like that. And George Pickens is a top five wide receiver in the same category. And you pair the two up, and we're about to find out what that means. So I love
Okay.
George Pickens. I
You were super in on him last year. You're super in on this and in on him this year, and you traded him at the one point you weren't super in on him in the last year.
Yes, pretty
That's sad.
much. Very sad. But
I've
I
similar thoughts to Pickens. I don't have
yeah,
anything super new to say. I like the fit in his offense a lot. I like the fit with Dak. I like the new landing spot to try to get him straightened out. I like that he has better quarterback play. I agree that he's very high volatility, kind of in a way that Xavier Worthy was, where he's not necessarily going to get 10 targets a game, but when he might get 4 targets, but he might take one of those 70 yards to the house. He might get 10 targets and take 2 of those to the house. So a little bit lower of a floor, but his ceiling is crazy in what this offense and might do this year and what I hope they're going to do this year. So, Tyler, any other Pickens thoughts?
I'm lower on Pickens. I think uh
You have him at 26, 2 spots below consensus, but still right in the range of his 24 ranking.
yeah, I'm not as convinced that he's just gonna slot in and eat up all these targets from Dak that I know some
Is it
people
because you think they're going to pound the ball with Jaden Blue?
hey my or he's gonna get all the check downs. That's
it's
what's gonna
the big comparison. I mean, Pickens is going from Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, Delvin Hodges, Mason Rudolph, Justin Fields, and Russell Wilson to now playing with the best quarterback
In the
he'll
all
NFL.
time.
he's ever played with. Um, you factor in the Steelers' offenses were lower in passing volume, and I think we all think the Cowboys will at least be top five in pass rate. Um, I mean, just those two alone
Hmm.
speaks for itself. I think the quality of targets will be much higher, even if the volume remained the same, which he peaked at 106 targets. I think the quality, because he's sitting right around a 55% catch rate on his career. Um, so the quality of targets should improve that and get it to league average, which I believe is 65%.
Hmm.
And that that's a huge boost.
Yep.
Um, yeah.
Big Pickens fan. Tyler, DK Metcalf, briefly teammates with George Pickens, not for very long, catching passes from Rodgers now with
Yeah.
not a ton of target competition. You have him 4 spots below consensus at wide receiver 30. Why is he high volatility going into this year?
Last year, Aaron Rodgers supported Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson was a top 12 PPR total points. He was top 12 in total points PPR scoring last year. DK Metcalf has been with the Seahawks since the beginning of his career until this year, and there's always been someone there that's kind of uh, been competing with him in targets, whether that's Tyler Lockett or Jackson Smith-Njigba. So it'll be interesting to see how DK Metcalf fits into the Steelers offense with presumably not a lot of target competition right now. I could see a world where that really hurts him and defenses are hyper focused on what he's doing, what routes he's running. Or I could see how if he's the clear number one in this offense and Aaron Rodgers is just looking for a receiver he trusts, DK will go off because of that. So it's really hard to say, and this the Steelers' offense has been pretty lackluster, as I think you noted last week in our question of the day, Reed. So I just I you mentioned it before we started recording, but DK Metcalf has been one of those players where the name recognition has always been a bit more than the actual production. He has had good years and he's shown flashes, but at this point, he's not a raw NFL prospect. He's a veteran. And so I think with Rodgers being there, him being on a new team, there's a lot of factors to consider here. And I could see him, maybe touching top 20, top 15, or I could see him, being wide receiver 40 plus. It's hard to say.
Wow. Yeah.
Is that a hot take or no?
I mean, 40 plus is
Okay,
really
okay.
low, but I understand your point. I'm with you, as you said, and I'm the lowest of all of us. He's actually one of the players I'm lowest compared to consensus across any position. I have him at wide receiver 36, which is 10 spots below consensus. So I'm very much with you with the volatility. I just don't necessarily think that he has the upside to make him a high volatility. He was in contention for my faller. I just, uh, I just don't see the way that he works. Like, I just don't see any boom case for him this year. He has not had like a boom season for half a decade now. He's I just don't know what the
I
case is.
think
What does he do well that meshes with Rodgers that's going to lead to him getting 1,200 yards this year? I
I
just
think
don't
it's
see it.
just I think it's just him getting peppered with targets, and
Yeah, the volume.
he's never been the biggest PPR guy, but I think it's certainly possible this year.
Hmm. Savon, any Metcalf thoughts?
Yeah, I think he definitely fits this category. I don't know. I think it'll be a shaky season just with the lack of weapons. I think defenses are going to be able to just dictate what he does. Obviously, I mean, he's a freak athlete and he's going to get his targets. I mean, Rodgers has spoke very highly of him. It's just they don't have anybody else, so he might just be another case where he gets so much volume that it doesn't even matter what the efficiency looks like.
Are you
Um,
saying you're out on Calvin Austin now?
uh,
Because you were
I,
in on Calvin Austin.
I he was on my team. That doesn't make me in on him. Um, but yeah, I think he's rated fine right now.
Very fair. Finally, our hardest to rank section. Uh, Tyler, I think yours is the most obvious one here. Like just looking at Travis Hunter, I think it
Yeah.
makes a hell of a lot of sense why he's hard to rank. You have him 3 spots below consensus at wide receiver 19, and Cevan and I are nearly in lockstep at wide receiver 20 and 17. So we're all right in the same range, 1 to 4 or 5 spots below consensus. Um, but I guess in that respect, then, is he hard to rank? All of us and KTC are kind of on the same page. So I guess why did you have him in this section at hardest to rank?
I had him. Well, I think it's just because we're all in agreement doesn't mean it's like the
That's
path
fair.
to get there was easy.
That's fair.
And I mean, the number one thing you got to look at is the offense defense playing time. It seems like right now the edge is to the offensive side. That's where he'll play more snaps. More snaps. I don't know if that is exactly how it'll shake out, but that's what it feels like right now. Talked about Brian Thomas Jr. earlier and how he fits with Travis Hunter in the wide receiver room. I think maybe this is something we can talk about another time too, but it's like the Jaguars are again just another one of those offenses like the Bears where I don't exactly know how it's going to shake out just because there's been some change there. So Travis Hunter, he the case for him is he was the top wide receiver in the draft, of course, and so this could be the lowest his dynasty value is for a long time at right around wide receiver 20. We could be looking at potential top 8 wide receiver next year, or we could be looking at someone who's, wide receiver 30 plus. Hard to say. So he was difficult for me to rank. He's a unicorn in a way. I just, I have him right here, but I feel like either I feel like it's way more likely he finishes quite a bit higher or quite a bit lower than
I
kind of
feel
this
like,
wide receiver 20 area.
yeah, I feel like you could have put him at a riser, you could have put him at a faller, you could have put him at
Yeah.
highest volatility, and you could easily put him in hardest to rank. Like
Hmm.
we just don't know until the first week actually happens and they're trying to win football games. We don't know what to expect. But
Yeah.
if their first week of the preseason is any indication, he's going to be on the field a lot on offense and he's going to be playing in the slot a lot, which is a very fruitful role in Tampa Bay last year with Liam Cohen. So I am very bullish on him. I am the highest of us by, only a few spots, but I am the highest. And I'm a fan, but I also totally understand the hardest to rank aspect of him. I mean, I mean, again, he could be playing more defense than we expect, and he could not be on this list next year if he doesn't play as much offense as we think. So, yeah. Cevan, any
No,
thoughts?
you guys got it all there.
Okay. Wrap up some Olave discourse here. You have him as hardest to rank, as we mentioned, 28th in your list, 5 spots above KTC's 33. Any other Olave thoughts that we haven't mentioned yet?
Nope. I'm just gonna say the exact same thing. The offense, sketchy. Quarterbacks, sketchy. Health,
Spencer Rattler, droppable.
yeah, health, sketchy.
Okay.
Um,
A
but he
lot of
is
sketch.
talented.
Yep. I have Mike Evans here, and it's not necessarily Mike Evans. It's more of a representative of his tier of players. I have him, Devontae Adams, and Tyreek Hill back to back to back in their own tier. Very similar to what we kind of dealt with last week, where our 3 guys for hardest to rank were Derrick Henry, and Christian McCaffrey. How much do you value the 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 or 1 year of guaranteed production at an elite level versus, what kind of window are you trying to build for someone younger that might reach the heights that he is at, but maybe more down the road or more consistently or for a longer period of time. So, uh, Tyler, I noticed you don't even have Mike Evans on your list, but you have other players like Tyreek Hill, Calvin Ridley, and Devontae Adams on there. So I wanted to know why you don't have Mike Evans on your list. Is it because of our discussions that made you hate him?
I People love peddling the 1,000 yard seasons fact, and that's great and fun and all. I am so in on Emeka Egbuka this year. Chris Godwin, I know he's injured to start the year, and I'm not saying Mike Evans is just a wide receiver 3 here in a healthy room. It's not what I'm saying. At this point, he's 31 years old. I he does the Tampa Bay offense last year's passing so much, and I know Bucky ran a good bit too. The offense was great last year. It's just at a certain point the wheels fall off, and he's been such a touchdown reliant receiver that I feel like even if his athleticism, you know, I don't
There are
know.
certain players that touchdowns
I
are
know,
sticky
I
for.
know, I agree, I agree. I'm just saying, like, it feels like if his athleticism ticks down a bit, it could go south pretty fast. And I'm sure it probably has ticked down a bit over the years. I'm not, I can't with confidence put him in the top 40 when it feels like the downfall more, is nearer for him than it is someone like Tyreek or Devontae Adams.
Tyreek, who was actually bad last year, instead of projecting Mike Evans to be bad this year. Mike Evans was a top 12 receiver by points per game last year, right?
I do. I He's
So
tough to rank for me too. I don't.
who do you think scores more fantasy points this year, him or Cortland Sutton?
I'll take Sutton.
Oh, of course you will. I'm sure you will. That doesn't surprise me because if you said Mike Evans, then Mike Evans would have to be on your list. What about him or Tyreek Hill?
I just this I'd take Evans. I'm
What
not in
about
on Tyreek Hill.
okay, so Tyreek Hill is the exact same age as Mike Evans. And do you think
Mhm.
Mike Evans is going to score more fantasy points? And Tyreek is even more susceptible to aging because his entire profile is built around speed. So why is Mike Evans not on your list?
I mean, full disclosure, I'll own it. I didn't realize I thought Tyreek Hill was a little bit younger than he was.
He is definitely 31.
Yeah, I thought he was like 29.
Ugh.
That's fine. I mean,
Co-host, man, I tell you.
dude, I know none of us are pulling up sleeper or football reference on 2 monitors and ranking them like these.
How
What
are
he
you
did
ranking
these.
them?
What do you
In your
mean?
sleep?
Come on, man.
Come on, man. Don't you come on,
The-
man, me. I'm leaving the Hall of Famer off your list.
Dude, I he would be he's in the top 45.
He should be in your top 40 if Tyreek Hill is in your top 40 and he's going to score less fantasy points than Mike Evans this year.
Probably right.
Oh my God. DJ Moore's
I just
28. Don't worry. Was 22 prior to us shaming you.
Here's the thing. I'm all in on a Egbuka, like I said, and I
Chris Godwin was the number 2 fantasy wide receiver in the league last year. Mike Evans was still a top 12 wide receiver.
okay. I don't feel like my thoughts are well formulated right
Good,
now about
good,
Mike Evans, so
good.
maybe we
All of
should
us are
just
above
redo the
consensus
pod.
here. No, no, we're too far in now. Josh Downs, we've already talked about. All of us are expounding on him often. Devontae Adams, who actually is not on KTC's top 40. He's listed right now at 42. All of us have him in our low 30s, which is interesting. There's such a big disagreement there. Obviously, all of us are expecting a big year from him at age 32. So we're going to take the production there over some other players who don't feel as confident they'll ever produce. And then Garrett Wilson. All of us have him at 10 or 11, and KTC is at wide receiver 13, so just a few spots ahead behind us. Cevan, you haven't talked in a while, so do you have anything to say on Garrett Wilson or Devontae Adams here, former teammates?
Oh, good point that they're former teammates. G Will,
Ball knower.
yeah. No, G Will, I mean, he's been the wide receiver one there since he's been drafted. That's what he was drafted to be every year. Uh,
Except for the second
you
half
know,
of last year.
yeah, but every year, the quality of targets, not so sure about, but he does get them targets. And uh, I would guess has he played 3 or 4 years?
3. This will be his 4.
Okay, I would guess over these 3 years, he is probably at least in the top three of total targets.
Give or take, yeah, I'd guess.
And so, yeah, I mean, just the expectation of how much volume he's going to receive. I mean, we've already seen Justin Fields produce one top seven receiver. I think we would all agree Garrett Wilson is more of a complete wide receiver than DJ Moore.
Tyler might disagree.
Well, DJ can run about 2 routes from my understanding.
Tyler's in on those 2 routes, though.
Um, as a diehard Bears fan, I watch it all. I've seen it all. He's good at about 2 routes. Garrett Wilson can run the whole route tree.
As a diehard Jets fan.
Now
um,
it's just a sad existence at that point.
sorry. My point is there's who's the wide receiver two for the Jets? We don't even know. Is it
Malachi
Josh?
Corley?
Corley.
Is it is it Malachi? Is it Aeneas? Is it Lazard? Is it Josh Reynolds? The answer is doesn't matter.
The answer is Mason Taylor.
The answer is Braylon Allen, if we're being
Oh,
honest.
God. We're going to get Tyler to crash out.
Yeah, no, but he's just going to get volume to death. Another one of those
Mm.
situations.
Yeah, as the owner of Garrett Wilson, my dynasty ranking is hoping that something changes and then they get a new quarterback next year because, like you
That's
said,
crazy.
how is that? What is your deal with Justin Fields, man? I mean, I get that you have him, but are you really going to argue that he's a good thrower of the football?
He's better than Zach Wilson.
Okay, there we go. So he's better than Zach Wilson when Garrett Wilson, again, like I think we all agree that if Garrett Wilson had like an average or better scenario, he's easily topping the 1,000 to 1,100 yards that he's had all 3 years of his career. Like you give him like a truly plus scenario, like he could be a 1,400 yard, even 1,500 yard guy. Like we all agree with that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, so mine is hoping that Justin Fields is not there after this year and hoping that either the season goes poorly, they make a move, something happens, and they can get a real thrower of the football in there because then
Yeah.
his ceiling jumps.
Justin Fields will have a better passing line than Aaron Rodgers did last year.
You want to bet on that?
No.
Yes.
Aaron
Okay,
Rodgers had
Savan, 2-on-1
4,000,
here.
didn't he?
What'd you
No,
say?
Clip
he
that chat.
won't. He will not. Come on, Tyler.
You're embarrassing yourself. Just when Savan
Tyler,
was complimenting you on willing to admit you were wrong, you do something like that.
Tyler, that was bad. He had 30,
This-
he had 3,900 yards. Justin Fields
Justin
career
Justin
career
Fields
high.
4,000 yard passer.
Oh my
No,
God. Okay,
Justin
we need to
Fields'
move on from
career
that.
high is 2,500. So he needs a 1,300 yard improvement to match Aaron Rodgers.
Below consensus, JSN, all 3 of us are a few
No, no,
spots
no, no.
below.
Tyler, I need you
Oh
to
my
say
God.
right now how bad that was.
It's what you would call shooting from the hip.
That is not a hip shot.
We will talk about shooting from the hip next slide. Actually, 2 slides from now. Don't worry. below consensus. JSN, all three of us are a few spots below. Cevan, the lowest at wide receiver 17. Jameson Williams, similarly, all of us kind of in the same range, but Tyler is the lowest at wide receiver 29. And then Jordan Addison at wide receiver 27. All of us are somewhat lower, and then Cevan very much lower. So I will go first just because I want to talk about JSN a little bit because I talked about him in Robert's episode in my overrated category where I'm not really sure what the offense is going to look like. I'm not really sure what the volume is going to look like. They just ran all over the Chiefs' second team defense last night. Everyone's all in on Zach Charbonnet. Cool, go for it. I think it's going to be a big rushing attack no matter what. And then you downgrade the volume significantly from last year with Geno Smith. You put more attention on him when DK Metcalf isn't stretching the field. You add questionable weapons around him. I'm worried about what if he's even able to replicate what he did last year, given his kind of style of play, what he excels at on the field. So definitely worried about JSN. Not a ton. I still have him as the number 13 dynasty wide receiver. I'm just worried about this year. Can he do what he did last year? And if he doesn't, there's going to be a fall there. And then Jameson Williams, general regression from the Lions offense will knock him down because they will score less than 40 points a game. And then that will hurt somebody who scores a lot of touchdowns. So there's my short on it. Cevan, Tyler, any thoughts on the fellows on the screen? Triple J's,
Um,
other than Jordan Addison. We already kind of covered him.
yeah, we don't need to talk about him. I don't really I I I don't have a reason why I'm lower on JSN
I mean,
specifically.
it just kind of
Same
happens.
here.
Like
Yeah,
I'm not out on JSN by any
yeah,
means, but like players get ranked and that we just our rankings are just a little bit lower. You don't have to be out on someone per
yeah.
se.
So yeah, I'm only out on Jordan Addison on this slide.
Tyler, any
Uh,
thoughts?
yeah, Jameson Williams. I was talking about Lad McConkey and possibly having his best year. I think a similar case could be made for Jameson Williams. I've been a vocal supporter for Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he obviously was still great last year as well. But I, to a degree, feel like that could have been Williams' peak. And, I don't need to say his name, but he's no longer there. So the offense, I mean, obviously will change a bit. So I I'm pretty skeptical about ranking Jameson Williams any higher than I have him right now.
Maybe the MVP of Camp Talk. The Lions have been hyping him up for months now. So I am excited to see what they do because I feel like he could be even more expansive with how he impacts the game. But
Yeah.
and he's someone that I'm not someone that I'm like I wouldn't have said I was significantly below consensus on, but it just so happened to be I was a few spots below. So
Mhm.
on to our ranks themselves. The last part, the meat and potatoes of the episode. We've mentioned a lot of these. So we'll mention a couple of specific spots here. And I think this first one is interesting because we have the exact same 9 names tiered off in the exact same way for our top 9 here. All of us have the same 4 in the top 4. All of us have the next 5 in the next 5 tier. Oh my God. Same next 5 in the second tier. But we have all 3 of us have a different top 4. And really, it also goes from the 2 to 3 because we all have Chase at number 1. Cevan, the owner of Malik Neighbors, has him at 4. I have him at 2, while Tyler has him at 3. I would like to hear Cevan's reasoning for why Malik Neighbors is number 4 because I was told all offseason he'd take him over Chase 1-on-1. So I want to hear his concentrated thoughts here on the matter.
Yeah, so undoubtedly Chase and Lamb better quarterback situation. Can't argue with that. It's still to be determined for Justin Jefferson, but until proven otherwise, Justin Jefferson is still the best receiver in football. So pay his
Facts.
respect. Top 2. Um, and then the other thing those 3 have in common, Lamb, Chase, and Jefferson, they're all paid. All of them over $40 million a year. So there's that, and they're all still relatively young. They're all 25. I believe they're all 25. Lamb might be 26, but don't quote me on
Lamb
that.
is 26. Chase is 25. I believe
Gotcha.
Jefferson's 26 too, actually.
They're all still
In the
they're in
prime.
their, yeah, they're in their prime.
Yeah.
Malik, we've only seen it once. We've seen it very consistently from all three of them um, over the course of multiple years. And then just with the Giants situation, at least this year, it looks like they have a good defensive line. That's it. Uh, no job security in the front office or the head coach. And then, a 1 year rental on Russell Wilson, and we'll see what Jackson Dart is in the future. Um, which Jackson Dart has looked phenomenal in the preseason, by the way. Uh, he had another great showing today. So yeah, it's more just the situation and the consistency of the three above. I don't fault anybody for having
You could
anybody in
put these
any
guys in
order.
any order, 2 through 4, and like none of them are wrong.
Correct, yes.
So,
So
um, in the second tier here, I am the only one with Amon-Ra St. Brown not at my number 5 receiver, and I actually have him down at number 8. I have Brian Thomas Jr., Puka Nacua, and Nico Collins ahead of him. Um, for me, I think Nico is just very, very good at football. So I will take him over Amon-Ra as the number 1 target in his offense. I think he's got a better ability to generate big plays. Is not nearly as reliant on touchdowns. So I'm taking Nico there. Although again, very close. And then I think Puka and Brian Thomas are just the age plus the impact they've had. Like I expect them to continue going up. I think to use your guys' Lad McConkey argument, I think we've seen the best of Amon-Ra. I don't know how much more is there. And I think that's easy to imagine a future with more from Brian Thomas. And I think Puka, at least for the time being, hopefully Stafford being healthy, his ceiling is higher than Amon-Ra. So
that I will say, I mean, making the argument with the lad and Amon-Ra, the difference is Amon-Ra's ceiling that we've seen is 1,510,
mhm,
which is very hard to do for anybody.
correct.
And I think that's why I have him at the top of this tier. I hear all the Nico arguments. Amon-Ra is still younger, um, and a big part of me having Nico at the bottom is he's the oldest in this tier, and he is the least healthy in this tier. Um, but great
Are you
talent
sure?
nonetheless. Yes,
Puka's been hurt a number of times in his career.
yes. I mean, Nico also has, but Puka's 2 years younger, which factors into that.
Hmm.
Um, but
No.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
The,
this tier, like this is such a sexy tier for me. The
yeah.
second tier, like obviously you're not getting the bona fide superstar, but like all these guys feel like they're just such an attractive group to have. Like I'd be happy with any of these guys. So Tyler, your thoughts on
The
this tier?
only thing I'll say about St. Brown is that the his reception totals year in year out are
Hmm.
just ungodly. And when I think of, PPR machines, the first name I think of is Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Very valid.
And so that's why he's the clear number 5 for me. Like
Hmm.
in this tier, you could probably order him however you want, but my bookends, I feel pretty confident in with Amon-Ra being 5 at the top of the tier and BTJ at the 9 spot. The middle 3 for me, Nico, Puka, and Drake
Hmm.
London are interchangeable. So
Yeah, I think the other thing to mention with Puka is like he just hasn't scored that many touchdowns yet. For as
no.
good of a player as he is to not really generate touchdowns, I think this could be a year that changes. Obviously,
Mhm.
adding Adams, who's historically been a red zone weapon, like again, this is all dependent on Stafford being healthy. But if we get a year, like if we get a nuclear Puka year, it's going to be a spike in touchdowns. And Stafford has historically been one of the most fantasy friendly quarterbacks in football recent memory. So I'm hoping he's healthy and Puka gets a chance to score some touchdowns without Cooper Kupp around. So
Well, I was gonna say Puka could be anybody. He could even be Cooper Cup.
Cooper Kupp's had one good year in his career, though.
That's all you're asking for.
Are
And
you
he
saying
went
that Cooper Kupp
nuclear.
should be ranked here?
No, you said if we get a nuclear year, he could be Cooper Cup.
Yeah, I mean Cooper Kupp won the Triple Crown,
I know. That's what I'm saying.
so we agree.
I I want to say one more thing. I did move Drake London up a bunch today. I seem to be the highest on him.
Today, what
Uh,
happened today?
or yesterday?
So, oh, it was just your general rework, you're saying?
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
remember what day that was. But I mean, we saw him unlock with Kirk Cousins last year. Um, somehow he's going into year 4. He's only 23 still,
Hmm.
which is
21
ridiculous.
too.
So
I think he'll be 24 for most of the season. He was 21 in his rookie year, and this will be year 4 for him.
gotcha. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I think this is going to be a fun offense to watch.
So fun.
I don't think they have a great defense. They have a bunch of youthful playmakers on offense. Um,
London just turned 24 like 2 weeks ago.
Gotcha. Yeah. Um, yeah, he has all the ceiling. He's a guy that I think could be make this sorry, could make a leap into
Hmm.
the next tier because
Wow.
you factor in a year from now he'll be, the age of the guys in the tier he's
Yeah.
in now.
No, I would almost argue that London like didn't get unlocked with Kirk, that he saw glimpses of it, but then Penix is the one that really unlocked him because, like, again, if you look at his games with Kirk, he was like 10 to 18 points every game, other than the one blow up game that Kirk threw for 500 against the Bucks. And then Penix comes in, he starts peppering him with targets, and then he has that huge last game. Like, I think Penix is the one that's going to unlock him. Kirk's the one that just showed, like, hey, this is what a good quarterback looks like because he
Yeah.
hadn't had that for the first 2 years of his career. So, yeah, I'm very excited. A very proud Drake London owner. He's like the only person on my roster this year, this offseason, that I haven't even like consider, like even a thought hasn't even crossed my mind to trade him. And I have had no doubts about that. I'm very excited to see what he does this year. So it pained me to have him down there, but yeah, anybody in this tier I think could be interchangeable. I have no problem with anyone's rankings here. Just a fantastic tier to be in.
Yeah.
11 to 20. This is where I wanted to take a second and talk about Cevan shooting from the hip. I'm sitting at work on Thursday, I think it is. I told Cevan that I wanted to make a bet about Tet McMillan versus Marv, and somehow it devolved to Cevan telling to me that he was shooting from the hip, but he expects Marvin Harrison to get 80 catches for 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns this year. And I think that is asinine to expect from someone who did what he did last year. So, Savan, why don't you give us a little soapbox moment on Marv here? Because I need to be convinced still that he deserves to be where you guys have him ranked.
Yeah, full context. It was 95 degrees. I'm pouring sweat. I just got done carrying a 250 pound door up a
Yeah,
hill, and I get a
flex on us.
and I get a text. No, sorry, it was with my partner.
Okay.
But I get a text. I check my phone. I'm huffing and puffing, trying to catch my breath, and Reed's spamming me with fantasy stuff. So I did say I'm shooting from the hip, and I did say those numbers.
That
We had a
is,
long we had a long conversation about it. Um, but yeah, I
Have you
mean, this
thought about
goes.
revising that yet, or what you would revise it to? Because whatever you
Um,
want to put it at, I'm ready to bet on it.
no, we can talk after the pod. But
Okay.
no, this kind of goes back to the whole trade I made Lad versus Marvin. Um, Reed's by himself here. I think Tyler and I are on the same page that Marvin just has a higher ceiling.
yes.
And you take in, I know you can't really you can't scrap what they were as prospects, but I mean
No,
Marvin,
you're right. The prior is still important in year two.
yes, but I mean as far as what we've seen, obviously Ladd had a better rookie year. Um, but I mean Marvin got drafted number 4 overall. I understand Trey McBride's on the team, but Trey McBride was on the team before he got drafted. And so my point being, they drafted, in my opinion, they drafted Marvin to be the number one option. Now that no matter how the targets shake out, he's still gonna get his, and he's still gonna be a top 2 or 3 tight end year in and year out. But from Marvin's perspective, I think their end goal would be to have him be the number one option in the offense, which he's 6'4", 215 pounds, uh, the son of a Hall of Famer. He's a red zone guy, so I mean he's someone who could, every year we're talking about who's scoring double digit touchdowns. I mean he's one of those guys. So I mean just and then you take in to what they did last year. The offensive coordinator he's living in the 90s, doesn't know how to run a modern offense. So, I mean, they decided to keep him, and so we'll see how it goes. The big question for me there is Kyler, honestly. Um, He's pretty sketchy, but I don't know. I think you're too low on Marvin, the prospect and the player, and you get caught up too much on him only breaking one tackle last year. And then that one Twitter video that came out after week one of him running routes slow.
No, no,
And
no. I was watching that game. I forgot he was on the team. So no, okay. My argument with Marv, I don't think it's I don't think it's fair to say that I'm obsessed with him only breaking one tackle last year, because if we go back to this slide, how many of the guys up here, like, well, to be an elite receiver, you need like one of two things. You either need to be elite after the catch in some way, shape, or form, or you need to be a PPR scammer. How many of the guys here? Oh, sorry. In some way, like a Brian Thomas Jr., like he's not necessarily elite in either of those, but he's also a vertical threat. And I don't know what area Marv excels at to boost his way up into somewhere like this. That's more of my point. I don't know what Marv excels at a level that sets him apart. And I don't think he's good enough at all of them to just be like a super well-rounded guy that everybody likes to be around. Like, I just don't see it. And then again, you add in the fact that McBride is there, who's obviously commanding a lot of targets. I also share some doubts about Kyler and his ability to provide for fantasy wide receivers. And then again, I have him at wide receiver 16. The priors of where he was drafted, his prospect pedigree, like that still matters for year two. I don't have him off my list like Isaiah Pacheco, but I have him a tier below guys who we've seen them do it. And I don't know what part of Marvin's profile gets him to be there. And I may be wrong, but 1,200 yards on 80 catches would just shock me if he did that this year, especially the 80 catches part. Like they're going to have to manufacture touches for someone who can't break tackles.
I guess we will see.
I'm on the salon side of things.
I see that you have him as wide receiver 11. If he has a good year, he could be Lad McConkey.
That's
And he's
if he
tied
has
to a worse quarterback. So, I mean, it
No,
all
but the
works
thing
out.
is he
How,
could be better than Lad McConkey.
yes,
Because why?
Lad Marvin genuinely he has a 1,500 yard ceiling. Lad cannot. He can't
What
get
part of Marvin's game allows his ceiling to be that high? Cevan, you're the resident guy who says you watch film and no ball. I want to know
I
what
mean, what
has you so excited that Marvin could actually do that.
what got him drafted so high?
That's a great question. I wasn't following the draft that closely. I knew him mostly for his name and that he killed it at Ohio State. So I can't speak to that personally. I only know what he did last year because I did watch a lot of Cardinals games last year because I was unfortunately on the Kyler Murray as a top five quarterback again in fantasy train. So I watched a lot of Cardinals games last year, and I did not see any part of his game that wowed me. Like his hands are really good, but he's not an elite route runner. He doesn't have burning speed. He's not great after the catch. He doesn't break tackles. He doesn't have a sexy fantasy role. And by training camp videos, it's not going to change this year, at least not a ton. So it's like, I just don't see why you guys insist that he has a 1,500-yard ceiling when we've seen nothing last year that
Yeah,
says
but
that he projects to be that kind of player.
did you see the photos where he looks more muscular now? How about
That's going
that?
to hurt his speed that already was a little lacking.
I was just making a joke,
I know,
but
I agree. Obviously,
well,
like getting on the same page with Kyler more often, hitting those throws, like, yeah, I don't doubt that's going to get better. Again, he could even hit 1,149 yards like Ladd had last year if he improves his chemistry with Kyler. I just don't see what path. Sorry, I see the path. I don't see what part of Marv's package here is going to set him above. Like, I feel more confident that Travis Hunter has a lot more ability to be a top 10 wide receiver this time next year than Marv does.
okay, that's crazy. Do you want to just bet?
What?
Do you want to just bet Lad's stat line from last year? 82,
Uh,
11, 49, and 7.
sorry, you said how many catches?
82 for
82.
11, 49, and 7.
Just a second. Let me look at Marv's line again. Marv had 8 touchdowns last year. If you do 8 touchdowns, I'll do it. Ladd's line plus 1 touchdown.
Yeah, sure.
Done. Easy money. Well, not easy money, but I feel pretty comfortable with that.
And that's on 14 yards per catch too.
Done.
That's what Ladd's was 14 yards per catch, and Marvin just last year was just over 14.
Nails.
But
Okay. Moving on from Marv. I'm glad we got some discussion in there. I think the last person I really want to talk about here is Rome, notably absent from Tyler's top 20. Cevan has him at 18. I have him at 19. Tyler, you don't have Rome in your top 20, and why is that? Are you a hater?
I am a hater. Hold on, I need to pull up his stat line
It was
here.
ugly.
it
Yeah, I
was.
was. I just, I'm not, I obviously there's still a chance he's a great player and everything. I'm just not ready to throw him aside the top 20 dynasty wide receivers on 54 receptions and 734 yards. That's just not cutting it for me.
But you were ready to throw Marvin at number 11 with 100 more yards?
And a higher draft capital and more touchdowns. Yes.
Okay,
I mean, that's a resounding yes.
sure. Outside the top 20 to 11th because he got picked 5 spots higher.
Okay, let's not act like he's that far outside the top 20. He's like
I mean, I don't,
23.
okay, that's 12 spots below Marvin. So,
But sure. But you don't have Rome above Marvin either, so
no. I agree that the draft capital matters, but saying going off on his rookie year stat line, saying that doesn't warrant putting him in the top 20, and then
okay.
ignoring that for
Well,
Marv
no, no,
because
no,
of
no,
your
no, no, no.
priors at 11.
That's just part of it. I'm not that no, no, no. Rome had objectively a worse rookie year than
Yeah,
Marvin
correct.
Harrison.
Agreed.
And as we've noted here, I am strongly in the camp that I think DJ Moore is a wide receiver one in Chicago still. And whereas in Arizona, Marvin Harrison's a wide receiver one. Not
Pass
necessarily
catcher number
top,
2.
correct. Possible, probably.
I hope for next week's
Yeah.
episode, per who you
Yeah,
have at
yeah,
number 1,
yeah,
I hope
yeah.
Marv's number 2.
No, no, I have Bowers one.
Okay, good. Never mind.
Uh, so all that to say, yeah, I'm not ready to like I'm just worried enough to keep Rome outside the top 20 for me.
Okay. I don't hate it. I don't think Rome's a clear top 20 lock. I just thought it was worth bringing up because Savon and I both have him just inside our top 20. 21 to 30 here. We see a lot of names we've already talked about. We've talked about just about every name on here at one point or another. Um, yeah, I don't
I
really.
think
We've talked about almost everybody on here. Do you guys have
oh, and
anybody
that
else to talk about?
no, we didn't have a Zay Flowers slide, but
We had
I
a Zay
agree.
Flowers episode. Watch the Deshaun team breakdown when
That's
poor
true.
Deshaun, we trashed on his trade and then he said he regretted it.
I,
Savon,
yeah,
anyone else you want to talk about here?
Nope, not here.
Okay, so then here there's somebody you want to talk about.
wide receivers 30 through 40 here.
31 through
Um,
40.
31 through 40. I guess maybe it's worth talking about like who we have at the end of the list there that just barely made it in.
Okay. Who do you want to talk about on there? Ricky Pearsall, none of us had him. And he was
I
wide
thought
receiver
it
30 on KTC. Sorry, you do. Tyler had him
huh?
wide receiver 30 on KTC, and he was omitted from Savon and I's lists entirely.
Yeah, why'd you guys omit him?
Because I think he's the third pass catcher in their offense. And I think that everybody else here is either a guaranteed pass catcher in their offense that will produce more than him or younger with more upside.
Hmm.
and I think he's the fourth pass catcher in the offense.
That's
Wow.
actually, I agree with that.
Did you forget
That's
McCaffrey?
Yes, I did.
who's who are the
Kittle definitely
Kittle?
will out
oh
target him. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
Juwan Jennings is going to get more targets than him, assuming he's on the
Yep,
field for health and contract related reasons. And then as long as McCaffrey's healthy, I still think probably gets as many, if
yeah.
not more targets.
And then Ayuk at some point, maybe.
Yeah, and then Ayuk, I mean, Ayuk
exactly.
will just kind of cut into everybody at that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
You guys have Jaden Reed. I do not,
correct.
but I've been a vocal. You know, hey, he's
Hater.
droppable next year. You
That's
heard it
what
here.
the people are saying.
You heard it
Yeah.
here for the second time now.
Yeah.
So
I
I,
don't have any strong feelings on him. I
for
very talented
so
player.
yeah,
So,
no. I think Jaden Reed and Josh Downs are semi-comparable
I
Um,
agree with that comp a lot.
Yeah.
Pretty similar skill set, and then also usage, and just only playing in three wide receiver sets on a run first team. I mean, they kind of just, I don't know. They have to be they're boom or bust. And I mean, as we've seen with Jaden Reed, he that's exactly what he is. So I'm afraid Josh Downs might just fall into that category, and we just never see. Like, there's two players that are really talented that just don't have enough opportunity, it feels like. So they might just
Hmm.
be better NFL wide receivers.
Agreed with that. Agreed with that. Anything else anyone wants to talk about here?
I
Kind of pretty similar names overall.
Yeah, I do want to say I Calvin Ridley is very intriguing this year. I mean, he's the clear number one option on the Titans. And then, I mean, having the unknown at quarterback uh, is always fun, as we saw, as Tyler got to experience firsthand with Jaden and Terry last year. That bump in quarterback play made
Yeah.
all the difference in Terry. And so going from Will Levis to anybody is almost surely an upgrade. Um, and having it being the number one pick in the draft, I mean,
Well, he
uh,
hasn't been discussed a lot, so I don't know if he's going to be very good.
True.
that's true. I agree
Yeah.
with that. But yeah,
Anyone else
Calvin
here
Ridley.
wants to get talked about? Anyone else want to touch on?
Don't think so.
No.
It's solid. I mean, realistically, I think we probably could have built this out to 50, and like 40 felt like a little bit unnatural of a cutoff. Like
Hmm.
there's definitely
It felt good at running backs. I feel like there was
yeah,
more names that I feel like should have been on here. Like I don't have Jerry
I
Judy on
agree.
here. He was like
Yeah.
my 41 or 42. Like feels like we definitely could have gone to 50 here, but that's hindsight. Next year we'll go to 50 for
No.
receivers.
No, I think it's fine we went to 40. I'm just saying like there's definitely still guys in this last tier that I'm sure all of us could probably put more of.
40, it's like low 30s feels so low. Like if you said that really was Dynasty wide receiver 39, my instant reaction before this would have been, oh, that feels really low. But it's like
Yeah.
there's a
Hmm.
lot of really good wide receivers.
Hmm.
Okay, I think that just about wraps up. One more slide here. You guys cannot tell
Dude,
me that Rome's not stealing JSN's whole vibe here. I think they look very similar, and I wanted everybody's thoughts on this.
Why do you think they look similar, Reed?
I will. Okay, obviously, I'm the whole package looks similar, from the facial hair to the general not smiling, not frowning vibe. But I'm just saying everything looks similar. And when I saw that the Bears posted this picture of Rome from year two, first off, they said, look how he developed. He looks the exact same as he is last year, body wise. So that didn't really make a lot of sense. But I literally looked at this and I'm like, that wait, that's JSN. And it wasn't. And I think they look really similar. And I wanted to put that on here.
You're gonna get framed.
they
Framed
couldn't
for
be
what?
they couldn't be more different though on like the types of wide receivers they are.
Very true.
Yeah.
One's a slot merchant. One has to earn what they're
One's
getting.
a slot merchant with another slot receiver on his team. I bet that goes well. Okay. Any concluding thoughts here? Wide receiver group. I think we probably gonna have our longest episode yet on this one.
Yeah. The, this has been the hardest positional group for me to rank. I don't know how you guys feel, but there's a lot of names in the middle there that are kind of jumbled. Kind of brought up like Calvin Ridley. Like there's a reason for that. It's just like there's so many names that are kind of pretty close from
Hmm.
I'd say somewhere around like 15 to 30-ish. I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of good names here. It was hard to leave off some of the names that just missed for me for sure.
Hmm.
Cevan, anything fun to say before we log off here?
Nothing fun. We're about 3 weeks away from the season, so it's time to gear up, start mock drafting, and
Start mock drafting.
yeah, get all your everybody listening, get all your redraft leagues mocked up, get them all done, and then just lock in for about 4 months.
Sounds good, coach.
I've been locked in for 4 months. We've been locked in since April on the pod here.
That's true.
Okay, well, we'll wrap up here. Next week, as you might expect, top 30 Dynasty tight ends. Should be a fun one. We've got a tight end connoisseur in Tyler, and then Cevan and I are a little indifferent on the tight end position. But overall, should be a fun episode, and we will see you next week.